Like, that is
Welcome everyone to day 3 of our v42 lessons. So we're going to be covering just purely deck building and all this. Of course, you all know me as Bloodmordius, and hopefully you all learn a lot from this. We're going to be going over the same sort of stuff I recapped on the end of last lesson. If you weren't there, I popped it on the screen. Just a little recap, I copy pasted it over. We'll have a quick cover over that. Just in general, how you will be building a deck in a very small manner. I'm just wondering, anyone here, did you actually do the homework I set from yesterday, anyone? Or are we waiting for tomorrow? No? Waiting for tomorrow?
I've done some, but I need to tweak. I've done 2 or 3.
Might be able to look at it at the end.
What's the homework again, sir?
Well, we'll be going over it at the end of this lesson. You can do it for Sunday. I'll go over it in a bit more detail on why we're doing it and what I want out of it, basically, so that we can actually see what you guys learn out of all this, because it's very, very important that you take this in, because deck building is very, very important. So, as usual, the hands up text channel, you can put the raised hand emoji if you wish to ask a question or answer one when I prompt you to. Type in the lesson channel if you feel like not speaking, or if your microphone's not the best. It's much more useful for you to be typing in that channel instead, rather than speaking with a bad microphone. Otherwise I won't actually understand you. So, of course, the stream's for the purpose of the VOD, as always. So that'll be up. What I am actually going to do is get rid of the webcam. I'm sorry, you're not going to see my beautiful face for this. And all the other stuff on the screen, including the pop-up, blah, 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 because I want the whole UI to be available, basically. Because we're going to be looking at the actual client a lot, and I want it to be all open so that everyone can see what is actually going on. So the document's still pinned in the lesson channel if you want to open up, if you want to see what we're actually covering today. There's a bit of a write-up there. I'm going to be saying it all vocally anyway. But it's there for you to read if you can't quite keep up on some things. So I'd recommend opening that up as well. For all of you in the Discord channel, you are going to have to be looking at the stream. You could listen to it on the stream, but I recommend you still listen here, even if the sound is slightly desync for you guys, just so that when I do ask a question, you can answer it a bit more promptly. The issue is, of course, with the deck building and stuff, I need you guys to be able to see what decks we're building, why we're doing it. It's a bit easier to have a visual representation, because I can't apply it all to the document like I could with the screenshots before, because we're going to be retroactively making new decks and everything, and also taking in your guys' comments and my comments and such, so that we can actually cover things a bit more thoroughly. So we're going to go quite in depth, basically, working on curves of decks and everything, and styles of decks, how you apply your play style to it and such, and then also how you'd use your deck in game, and then come out of the game and see what you get out of that game to then apply to your deck and then refine it or so, or optimize it, is what we're mainly going to be looking at. So, as we covered yesterday, very briefly at the end of the lesson, was why are you building the deck? So you're probably going to be thinking about your play style a little bit here. You're going to be thinking, you know, do I want to be aggressive? Do I want to be passive? Do you want to make lots of plays? Do you want to be more supportive to your team? Do you want to provide lots of vision control? Do you want to actually like split push and stuff? Do you want to work with minions more? Do you want to invade lots? Do you want to clear your own jungle lots? You know, lots of different things you want to think about. Do you want to be more objective focused? Do you want to do more tower sieging? Do you want to, you know, be a bit more risky to gain a bit more, you know, gain out of your build and such? All these things you should be thinking about first before you even go into the deck. What are these sort of principles you're looking for? Then you think about, so, the hero I'm going to play. Maybe you considered this in the first bit, maybe you didn't, but if so, if not, then which hero is this deck applying to? Or heroes, because it can apply to multiple heroes in some cases, which is rare, because I like to temper my decks more towards one hero, but of course the same deck could work for another hero, just with a couple of tweaks, which is why we need a clone mechanic for the decks again, like we did have before. So you're going to look for the playstyle you're looking for, again, cover that in the first one, what sort of playstyle we're going for, and what affinities actually complement this. So we went over briefly the affinities, if I scroll back up, what sort of playstyles you're looking for, so growth, your jungle, sustain, clear, objective secure, late game scaling, tanking, etc., knowledge for extreme late game scaling, ability damage, utility, ramping and debuffs, etc. So it's all there for you to read, and we covered it all yesterday, and what sort of stuff you're going to be going for. So you're also going to be looking at what your other affinity is, so you probably have one affinity that fits the playstyle more, and then what's the affinity that would complement this best? Will it curve better than other affinities, or does it just fit the playstyle better so that you can have a more refined endgame build rather than a better curve? So you're going to be sort of comparing the two, which we'll actually be looking at today. You can take knowledge for your late game scaling. Do you want chaos to curve that for a stronger early to mid game, or do you want to go all in and go growth and have a really refined late game build of things like Malinx, Nash and Atomic Soldier combined, that kind of idea? And we're weighing up the benefits, of course, of this and all the negatives. Then you think about your core endgame build, the 3 cards that you're going to be ending with basically 90% of the time. And then you think about what situational cards you add, the cards that you could swap one out for. About 2 to 3 of them usually. Sometimes you only have one if you want a really heavy curving deck or something, but usually you have 2 to 3 because you're going to need to be thinking like, you know, do I need to get cleanses? Do I need stasis effects? Do I need healing effects, shielding effects, vision effects? Do I need more risky cards in there, just a case like a Hellfire Engine I can pick up? That can be a situational card, it doesn't have to be core, that kind of stuff. And then you think what cards you start with. Again, usually 2 to 3, sometimes you start with 3 cards, which is usually a little more greedy, but it gives you a very refined, strong early game. If you go with 2, you do have room for consumables, such as wards and stuff, so you usually have 2 in a support deck, and then your ward becomes one of your situational items. And then you think about curving your build, which is at least 3 cards. You should always have 3 cards to curve, because you should have, in that case, 3 starting cards, 3 curve cards, 3 late game cards, with your 3 situational cards that you can pop in there. Situational cards can also be used for curving, so you could end up with a maximum of, technically, probably 7 curve cards or something, because all your situational cards could be used for curve too, based on the situation. So that's why it's important to have lots of curve cards, but usually have about 5. That's how many I usually use in mine. And then you think about finally what gems you use to then go in the final build, that curve that you end up at the power spike at or just after the final 3 cards. So you think about your final build, you try and fit all the gems within the attribute, you know, constraints of that build, and then if they all fit in there and they all work to the build perfectly and you don't need any other gems that sort of outliers of this, perfect, that's awesome for you. But then you're going to have to consider, you know, if there is one that's out there, try and make it only like a few extra attributes. So your final build, put a few more attributes in when you go out, maybe farm some white camps or something, clear a lane, get that last couple of tribute points online, get the gem online, then you're ready to go. The important thing is in this game at the moment that the games are very quick, as you've noticed. At the moment, that could be more due to, you know, people not understanding the game, but in general I think the speed has increased overall, even when people get the hang of things. This means that scaling decks are going to be slightly worse, but it does mean that your faster decks and everything, you know, you want your spikes to be a little faster than usual, so you want to be hitting some things like that. Right, so deck building, as I say here, it's vital to have a good structure to your game and how you'll play it. Deck building is important for this, due to the fact that you should structure your deck around the way you play. This doesn't mean you should be one-dimensional. You don't just think about that style, run it in the game, and, you know, go for all the way. Make sure you have multiple decks when you do go into a game, and or plenty of situational cards inside the deck, so you're ready for whatever the opponent may bring out. If they play a certain hero and you're playing, like, you know, if you pick Sevarog and you're going for a scaling deck, so you want to play for the late game, and you run into, you know, Grux or Rampage who wants to be really aggressive early, you need to have another deck that you can adapt to that, so you can have a more solid early game, so you don't just get overrun. They could run a curse card and they could just overrun you and win the game off of it, and you'll let your team down. So make sure you have more cards in your deck. Use situational cards to refine this, or a new deck altogether, if you're having trouble dealing with certain matchups and such. An unoptimized deck, or a deck you have no plan around, or only end up damaging your gameplay. So a lot of people that I see when they ask me for help and stuff on their own gameplay, well, I can't really help you yet because your deck's just awful. Go fix your deck, and then use that new deck, and then once you've got that, you'll see lots of improvement, and then we can look at what the real mistakes are, because a bad deck will cover up what mistakes you're actually making in game, due to it already damaging your gameplay so hard initially. Deck building is a huge part of this game, as is itemization. Something like League, if you go, you know, Ash bot lane as a carry and build a Rabadon's Death Cap first, I'm not going to be able to analyze what gameplay you're really doing wrong, because you're building max AP and you're not going to have any damage. So, you know, simple as that. Or Thornmail, you know, if you're following the tutorial or something stupid. So it hurts your learning capabilities basically, and improving your future games. So that's the whole reason that this deck building lesson is here, so that, you know, you can refine this, build a proper deck, and then when you go into the game, you won't have any of these issues, and you can focus on improving more if you wish to do so. So today I'll be teaching you all how to build deck build in general. Once you have a solid understanding of the concept of deck building, it will further enhance your ability to do the following. So you'll be able to improve your own mechanical play and decision making as a whole, because you know what you're sort of doing with your deck, and mechanical because you can know how the deck can apply to your hero to then, you know, make plays and such, how to control your hero in the sense that I want to be more supportive for this hero, so I'm going to be using my abilities a bit more conservative on allies and such, along with my cards. This will help you refine just your basic understanding of what you're actually trying to do with your character and your deck when you go into the game. In general, you know, once the deck is like working and stuff and you've got it on your head and it's flowing, you don't even have to think about it, you can also start focusing a bit more on what I'm actually doing within the game. So it can also help you improve your gameplay as well as already improving your gameplay. It helps you adapt to more situations within a game, so you have more situational cards, you understand what works against what, and then you also have more decks and stuff, so you understand what actually affects the game more against the opposing team, basically. So help you understand counterpicking as well, so you're not necessarily counterpicking them, but you'll understand what cards are good against other cards and such, and this will help you understand what heroes are good against other heroes, and in general, picking what hero against another hero, and then also using the deck to then refine your counter pick, essentially. Or counter the counter pick. They pick a pick that's good into you. Like I said, you're a Sevarog, they're Rampage. Rampage can just overrule the Sevarog early. So what you do is you build a bit more aggro on your Sevarog early, a bit more defense, make sure you refine your early game. This will disallow the Rampage to just completely destroy you early, and then you'll be able to scale into your late game deck. It will allow you to enjoy the game more, because having a good deck means you don't have to worry about it. You're going to be able to focus on the game a bit more, enjoy the game a bit more, play it to a higher level, which means you play stronger, which means you enjoy the game more. You're also going to be able to make more fun decks and stuff, you know, like OPD Chimera, Red Zone Crunch, these kind of things, which are super fun to play. And once you've actually refined your gameplay a bit more, you'll actually be able to play the decks, you have the understanding behind them, and then you'll enjoy using them more, and you can have more fun with the game, which is always a good thing. You need to enjoy what you play. Broaden your MOBA knowledge in general, so itemization is always a very important thing in MOBAs as a whole. The reason I know what goes good in decks here is because I've played League for several years, and League's itemization is very similar in the same regard, because all MOBA itemization is. You should know what the sort of curves are that you're looking for. This itemization is quite close to Dota, actually, which I played for a while. So you're sort of looking for the same sort of cards to what items you'd be buying in Dota in this game, on the same curve. So overall, it will improve your MOBA knowledge based on statistics and stuff on what actually improves what, and what you want to use on certain heroes, and what mechanic this hero has that's enhanced by this card. This will help you in future in just Paragon in general, but also all MOBAs. And then help you understand more MOBA fundamentals, such as little changes having such huge impacts on every decision you make. Just that simple thing of having Exoskeleton instead of Coinmaster early is a huge, completely different change in your playstyle. It's simply one card difference, but it can completely redefine the way the game will run. With Coinmaster, you could be overrun early, they snowball and they get ahead of you and win the game. Whereas if you had Exoskeleton, they couldn't do that, and you could fight back, you might get the kill, then you get ahead, and then, you know, you snowball the game off of that. You can completely decide the game one small card change, even if it's a one-cost card. So always keep this in mind when you're building your decks, basically. Any questions so far? None? No questions? Oh, Gucci. Cool. So, in short, a good deck, mean an easier time playing the game well, easier to improve your game, and have fun more. So this is why we're doing this. So I'm going to now cover multiple of the decks that I've already made, some that are fun, some that are more competitive. This could show how to exploit certain powerful card combos, so we're looking at things like the shield build and such, and then powerful cards like Flame of Second and such, and how to look for them in the first place. Like, how did we find the shield build, the two cards that are strong? How did we find the Sorvuk build with Sorvuk, Withering Death, and Plague Lord Matling? Like, how do we look for these things initially and then use them in our deck and then realize, yes, they are actually this strong? And then you can also understand how what cards negate others, or other heroes, such as, you know, the silence cards. So I forgot what it's called now. Sleeper Agent, there you go. With the gag effect, you can use that on Countess to completely negate what she does when she goes to burst you. So a counter to a meta pick there, basically. So we're looking at counter picking through cards and stuff and situational cards. So I'll also show you ways that you can create one deck to enhance an ally's deck. So basically, this is more synergy for competitive players or pre-mates, but you can use things like a heavy damage Wraith build that sits really far back, and then a tanky frontliner with Red Zone. So a Red Zone person would go into the enemy team, Wraith would now deal 50% more damage using the snipe at a long range, and he won't take any damage extra really, providing he stays a longer range than the opposing team can. So you can combine things like Murdoch as well. So just little combos like that. So these are sort of things we'll have to think about when we're building decks, as well as how you can enhance an ally's deck as well. It's just a nice little bonus bit. If you're looking for the document, it's pinned in the Lessons channel, Dark Rugi, as I said at the start. So lesson channel pinned, and you can look at the document. Cool. So you can all look at the stream now. As always, it's best to listen here if you can. We're still going to be covering the decks. I'll do it nice and slowly, so you'll have time to, you know, catch up and understand what we're looking at. So we'll go over the Grux deck that we did look at yesterday. I'm going to go over the thought process behind it. So you're thinking about playstyle, wanted a bruiser Grux that ends in a very tanky Grux, that scales really well to late game. Chaos really complements growth with the whole aggressive playstyle, defensive playstyle, you know, the opposite playstyles, but you steadily increase in strength while you're also pushing your early game to the limit. Basically, Chaos is your more aggression, growth is your late game scaling. You'll see that in the itemization a little bit. Chaos, we all bite early and then we end up with lots of growth at the end. Growth also enhances your jungle clear a lot though, so we're going to be buying things like Tyrant, which scales up, steadily increases in strength, and Flame of Second, which scales really nicely on its own. So we're basically going to be using those cards to reinforce themselves. With that in mind, we're jungling. Demolitionist and Living Guardian are two early game cards. Flame of Second can be considered early game as well. It's not really situational because it's so strong. How we found out this card was broken. So, Flame of Second. Does anyone want to tell me a comparison for Flame of Second that you may know? I'm pretty sure someone would know from another MOBA. No? No one want to tell me?
Smite.
Oh. Well, Dirt of Dead.
Pretty much what he said. There was a trinket or whatever they call it now, an active that basically works the same. Neutral creeps or camps like Fire Giant, you'd be able to secure it or cause immediate damage.
Yep. There's Smite in League of Legends as well, which is a summoner spell you can take, so both of these things are instant damaging effects on creeps, true damage to a neutral minion. Same idea. The reason we know this one is broken, so if you compare it to League, someone who's come from League, you've come from a high level scene, you know every jungler always takes the summoner spell Smite. It's important for securing Dragon, it's important for securing Baron and everything. Standard, it increases with your level. As you level up, so you hit level 18, it hits a max. Flame of Second infinitely scales, and it gets absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, it has a very short cooldown, it's also free to just pick up, and then discard again, buy something else, and then sell it and then buy it again. So it's like a summoner spell you can even just swap out when you only need it. So you just basically keep it all early game because it's super strong, help you clear white camps faster, it'll help you take green instantly, it'll allow you to steal green, it'll allow you to kill siege minions to prevent sieges, allows you to take raptors and solo them easy, allows you to secure prime to steal prime. There's so many uses that you pretty much have to run this on junglers at the moment in terms of competitive play. We'll look at decks which are a bit more fun for solo queue and stuff where you don't have to run Flame of Second, but do bear in mind if you're against someone who does run it, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. This card is super strong for junglers and pretty much should be run on every jungler. On your first back, you can easily have 4 points. You go back, you can buy your 2 early cards or something, or you'll already have Living Guardian, so you can buy Demolitionist, swap out Living Guardian for a curve card, which is Green Spring, and then buy Flame of Second, which is a huge spike, makes you super strong on your first back, and then you start charging your Flame of Second. You get to the one shot of Raptors after a few uses, so you can go solo Raptors at 7 to 9 minutes whenever you want. And then you can just do Prime as well, even at 10 minutes, especially if an ally buys it. The issue is this thing infinitely scales, it keeps on getting stronger. It gets stronger much faster than it does in League. At League, it will only hit 1,000 true damage towards late game. You don't lose the stacks if you sell this thing, so you can keep constantly swap it out. And it basically just infinitely scales, it will get much stronger. So this thing will probably be like, I don't know, 3k by the time Smite would hit 1k in League, which is just absurd. This thing can hit up to 4k even as you get even more late game. A couple uses of it, just insta-kills Prime basically. It is super strong, pretty much always run on a jungler. Could even be run on support, could even be run on mid lane. If you're growth and you're looking to play competitively or to a high level, I'd recommend putting Flame of Second in your deck because it is such a stupidly good card. Only 25 mana to use as well. So very important, so we pop it in our deck, so we're a jungler, and then we pick up our Green Spring, as I said, as a curve card. It's a nice tanky card early, gives you out of region, out of combat region, and then basic armor, which is all very useful in the jungle, so we like that. We have Tyrant next as our next card, so we'll sell Green Spring for this if we have to, if we go back on 3-3, otherwise if we go back on like 3-6 for whatever reason, we can pick up Green Spring and Tyrant. If we go back on 3-1, we can pick up either Living Guardian, I prefer Living Guardian, or Demolitionist, but I prefer Living Guardian, so I always level the Vitality next, and Tyrant as well. Of course, along with Flame of Second, we don't want to override Flame of Second early, we want to keep it stacking, and then you pick up Tyrant. Tyrant is a super strong card. Again, if you look at people's power scalings and stuff, you'll notice everyone has a lot of power scaling. This thing gives a hell of a lot of power on its own. You're also investing into Vitality, so you're getting HP to get the card, and you can just keep investing in Vitality after, and it still gives you 200 max HP when you get the 50 minion kills, which again makes it a rather durable card for a 6-cost card. If you look at other 6-cost cards and stuff, let's find the There's no 6 cost that gives HP. Is there maybe a 7 cost? There you go, Pensive Shaman, a 7 cost, gives you 240 HP. So this thing's still almost giving as much as a 7 cost in terms of HP, along with all the power it's giving, and, you know, it's still the effect, but it scales super hard. So this 6 cost, basically, is going to be valued like almost a 10, 11 cost by the time it's maxed out, which is crazy. Yes, Protagonist?
I was just going to ask, with the minion kills, does it count minion kills you've made before you've bought the card? Or is it only as
after?
Card? So if you've had 20 minion kills, you need to get to 70 minion kills to
only jungle
activate
minions.
the 200 HP. All right.
But river buffs count, gold buffs count.
Enemy jungle minions as well.
Enemy jungle minions, all white minions, green buffs, the raptors count, even prime counts. So it's very easy to stack up. It won't take you long. By the time you've got it fully stacked, you'll probably have 1 core card starting to form, or maybe you stack it before, then you can probably stack it on a couple, like a curve card towards your final core card. I tend to keep Flame of Second and Tyrant as long as I can, only swapping out Tyrant when I need my second core card, which is pretty rare, you know. We even get to that stage because you can win so fast with just second and that. Vital Waters is another curve card. Again, we're maxing a lot of vitality on Grux, so like Green Spring, it's just another card you can buy if you have lots of spare vitality and not the agility to buy something else. You might be looking, for example, like something like Unstable Cyborg, again, another curve card, 4/8. This is a 7. What you can do is you can max out Vitality first. When you hit 7 Vitality, pick this up instead of Flame of Second if you don't need to secure a Prime. Get 1 more Vitality, then work on 4 Agility, and then you can buy Unstable Cyborg. So you just get a nice tanky card before you actually have to pick up Unstable Cyborg, which is a really nice thing to do. Thunder Cleaver, again, is a curve card. This is one I rarely use. I rarely need to hyper farm on Grux at the moment, and I don't like replacing Tyrant for this because I feel like Tyrant's such a stronger effect, basically. But it is a very nice card. If you don't need 4 Naomi because you're not taking a lot of damage, basically, just pop 1 more point in agility and keep maxing your vitality, and you can pick up Thunder Cleaver instead, because 4 Naomi is usually the common counter card, situational curve card I go for. It's also a situational card for the final build because 4 Naomi is a super strong card. So this is one of those situational cards that's also a curve card. Super strong card. Unbroken Spirit, basically firmer one from before. This is actually in the final build along with one of the tribe and Compensator rigs. So Compensator rig's the first card I rush. So again, if we're thinking chaos, we're thinking for the pure damage that we were going for early game. So what you're doing is you're using your early game 2 chaos cards, Living Guardian and Demolitionist. Then you're going into some growth scaling cards. Then you're looking at a couple nice situational chaos cards that benefit the growth side of things really well. Then you're picking Compensator rigs. This is your first tanky bruiser card. You hit late game, well, in fact you hit mid game, so you've got a fully stacked Tyrant, you've got a Compensator rig, and you've got Flame of Second. So that's when you're super strong. You have all this power, you have tons of HP, you have even more power for Compensator rig, you get low HP, you get more damage, and then you got Flame of Second for securing things, basically. So this is sort of your chaos really coming online here. Then you start going for more of your growth stuff, so you can be looking to probably sell Flame of Second now when you don't need it, unless you're focusing on Prime. So what you're going to do is then you're going to be looking at things like Unstable Cyborg, 4 Yomi again, the super strong cards, maybe Thunder Cleaver if you are looking to clear to get more stuff. If you're looking for a tanky card, look for something like Vital Waters. So you're looking to curve into those. Again, you can use the cheaper cards to curve into them. Green Spring, Living Guardian, Demolitionist are all cards you can curve into them with. But I wouldn't sell Flame of Second for one of the 1 casts, basically, just the Green Spring, which would be nice. So then we curve into sort of that mid to late game transition where you're starting to get 2 core cards online, you still have Tyrant online, and then you're looking for something like Unbroken Spirit, where you're maxing out your vitality. So we're getting towards 25 vitality here because these are 19 together, plus with Tyrant, that's free, so we're going to be on 22, might as well max out to 25. We get our Armor Aura, so we'll be talking about the gems just after. And then we're looking for one of the tribe, which again is free, so it's still 22. So basically all we need to do is get 7 more agility. By this we get our 13 cost agility gem, which is Lifesteal, our final gem, which combos nicely with one of the tribe getting all the power, along with Compensator rig, which means lower HP, more damage, more lifesteal, more healing, along with our Ferocity gem, which is in Vitality, 4th gem, which we'll have quite early, which combos again with Compensator rig, and then again with the Lifesteal gem, so for synergy. So Unbroken Spirit, the reason I take it pretty much all the time is because every comp pretty much has hard CC. If they didn't have, like, hard CC, like any of them, like 0 hard CC for whatever reason, I'd probably just take Unstable Cyborg. But then again, I've got to consider this thing has 480 HP on it, 36 ability armor. It makes you super tanky. super tanky, super strong card. So it's very rare that I would swap it out for anything, just for Ndiomi if they had tons of burst damage that I need to deal with. Unstable Cyborg if they had 0 CC and I didn't need to worry about ability damage. Otherwise I'm just going to be taking Unbroken Spirit. So Unstable is a nice situational curve, so is for Ndiomi. Thundercleave is more of a curve card. Vital Waters is a curve card. Greenspring is a curve card. Starter cards here, these three. Yeah, and then late game build. So we're still following the same principles that we followed before. I mean, as I say, guys, this is my way of deck building. Everyone's going to have different ways of doing it. There might be things that work better for you. So, by all means, if a method works for you, do so. But this is the way I do it, and I'm hoping that you can basically learn from that and all the principles I use behind it. So if we go for gems, of course we're going heavy vitality, so we're going to go for 5 vitality gems, and then 1 agility, as we said. You can look to go for something like Ruthless here. Ruthless is pretty good. Again, it synergizes quite nicely with what you're trying to do. You're going to live a long time in a fight, so they're going to get lower HP, so you can deal more basic damage. You get low HP, Compensate Rig does more damage, Ruthless does more damage. I like going for Lifesteal because it fits perfectly as you get your final card, one of the tribe, which is really nice. And then you're basically getting, of course, your 10% Lifesteal, which synergizes really nice with Ferocity and Compensate Rig. So this is a really nice thing to have. The other 2 gems aren't too great in slots 1 and slot 7, so the 6 choices there aren't as good. And of course you don't want multi-shot, Mana Generator's pretty meh on Grux. So I'd look to pick up the Lifesteal gem here. Jungle Lifesteal, we're combining with Living Guardian to make you literally invulnerable to jungle creeps. You should never be able to die for them. You can tank green and 2 white minions, just auto attacking level 1. Super easy, like makes you clear super strong. Keep you sustained throughout the whole game. Damage reduction, you reduce your base damage taken by 10%. It's not a bad card, like gem. You could consider going for Armored here for the shield. It's not a bad one, it'll make you early stronger. I prefer damage reduction because we're scaling to late game with this deck. Mana Reactor is a good choice if you have mana issues. I usually run this on someone like Severog, but with Grux, again, we're looking to go on backline. We're going to be on carries. I'd rather have 10% less basic damage being taken. I don't usually have mana issues on Grux. Then you can return 10% of base damage taken. Same principle behind the damage reduction, basically. Shredding Strikes could be another good choice if you want to kill the backline a bit quicker. Scales really well with a Compensator, along with Ferocity, so you have lots of synergy there. But I want to be more durable, and like this gem basically forces the enemy carry to not hit you as much, because it will force them to take a lot of damage, especially if you combine a 4 Ndiomi, for example, so they'll take 75% damage back. It also helps you clear jungle very fast, allows you to do Raptors pretty fast, helps you deal prime, so damage return is a very powerful gem. I really like it on Grux. Ferocity, again, synergizes really nice with Compensator Rig, Lifesteal, etc, etc. Tons of attack speed. If you ult when you're about half HP, this thing will give you so much more DPS, it's absolutely insane. This is pretty much a must-have gem. Consume the Dead is one you could consider picking up, but it's very hard to kill people without the huge attack speed steroid, because you don't have any attack speed in the deck apart from the agility level ups. So Ferocity is your main source of it, so Consume the Dead isn't the best. I don't actually have a Reflexive Purify, which is hilarious, but Reflexive Purify could be another option again if you're dealing with lots of higher CC, but that's why we have Unbroken Spirit. Yeah, Janto?
The damage reflect, is that post mitigation or pre mitigation?
Post mitigation. So it's not a huge amount, but it's enough, you know. It still deters a carry hitting you. Carries deal a lot of damage, and any damage back to them is a hell of a lot. Shredding Strikes may lead to a bit more damage if you're consistently hitting them all the time, but as Grux, you got to bear in mind you will be kited a bit. If they have good peel, they will, you know, have a support that stuns you. You're going to be sat there, they're going to shoot you, and they're still going to take damage while doing this. And you also lose all your shred that you accumulated before when you get stunned. Yes, Protag? Protagonist?
Yeah, sorry, I have a bit of a robot voice, but I just wanted to add, the carry has like 10 to 15% lifesteal. The 10% damage back completely mitigates all the lifesteal they're getting.
Yep.
So it's like once they hit their lifesteal power spike, they don't get their lifesteal if they shoot you.
Indeed. So again, we're thinking about counter popular builds. Sustain builds are very popular at the moment. Just even Chimeras are running lots of sustain, but shield build is a form of sustain build. This sort of helps negate a little bit of that. Helps negate the shields becoming too strong as they shoot you. So therefore the damage return will help negate that. But yeah, again, you can still argue the same for Shredding Strikes, right? You're going to be in a sustained fight with a carry. They may be building up lots of shield, but you're shredding all their armor, which then makes you deal more damage to them, which makes their shields less worthwhile overall. But I prefer the damage return for the previously stated reasons. Final gem, we go for Armor Aura. You can consider Avenging Spells. I don't like it much on Grux. It's really good on someone like Sev. Grux doesn't need his abilities up as much as other heroes because he's an auto attacker, so I'm not too keen on that one. Improved Health Regen isn't really for Grux. He's in the fight, you win the fight, and that's the fight. And then you go take objectives and stuff. You don't usually need the health regen to keep you back up on that. This is more for someone who uses like death cards, for example, Sorvuk, to try and kill someone, and then you regen all your HP out of combat super quick. Armor Aura is amazing on Grux. It's giving us the same effect of Shredding Strikes from the 3rd gem, plus giving us 12 armor, so, you know, we're getting 12 basic armor, we're in team fights a lot, our allies are all getting 12 basic armor. It's a really solid gem, basically. And then reducing all theirs by 12, it makes your auto attacks hit harder. Yeah, and you're basically going to deal a lot more damage. As the Grux is saying, is you're auto attack based. So that's the overall concept behind those. And then agility, I went over it quickly, but that's where we go lifesteal at the end. Again, synergizes nicely with ferocity and compensator rig. So we thought about how our gems can curve from things. All these gems fit within the constraints of our final build, with the exception of the 5th vitality gem, but that's only 3 off. It's very rare the final 25 gems going to lie within the build unless you're going like a max build on one attribute, which is fine. As you said, going 3 attributes out is not too bad. This build is quite expensive. It does have, what, 2 13 costs, I think, 2 13 costs, and then a 12 cost, so it's one of the more expensive builds for the late game. As I said, it scales really well. It's quite easy to fit the 6 gems. Heroes count as units, yes, heroes do count as units for the purpose of the gem. This also affects minions as well, which is quite important. So allied minions are stronger and enemy minions are weaker, which allows you to basically auto push just by sitting there. So yeah, very, very important. Again, we don't dip into intellect at all for this build. We don't even put 1 point in intellect. There's no reason to. No cards we want for Grux that he benefits from intellect, in terms of at least chaos growth. And there's no gems or stats we want out of these, so we're just going pure vitality, agility. Yeah, and that's basically how I built my Grux deck. So again, we followed all the principles that I go over, basically. Thought about the playstyle behind it. I wanted it to be a competitive, strong deck. I wanted it to have a really nice late game tanky build, be a bit more bruisery early to mid, pick the 2 affinities to complement that. We picked our end game build, which is Compensator, Rig, Unbroken Spirit, and one of the tribe. We found out our early game cards, Demolitionist, Flame of Second, and the Vingardian. Found out our curve cards, which is Green Spring, Thorn Diomi, which is situational and curve, Thunder Cleaver, which is more of a curve card. Unbroken Spirit is also situational, but it's in the core build, but we can swap it out for things like Unstable Cyborg, which is sort of situational curve, and then Vital Waters, which is purely a curve card. So yeah, that's basically how the Grux deck was built. Is there any questions about the Grux deck at all for jungle? Yes, Flying Gazelles.
Just a quick question about gems. When you're looking at them, how do you prioritize the stats that you're getting? I know that they're small, but do you go for a more min-max approach where you're trying to...
Oh yeah, we can talk about those.
Yeah.
So in general, as I said with the... so this is why I take ability armor on those 2 gems. You saw I was looking for the ability armor ones, damage return and armor aura. The reasons I look for the ability armor there is, number 1, you get ability armor on the 3rd tick anyway, but this is even further ability armor, plus you're not going to have ability armor till sort of late game when you get your Firma Bond card. The idea is that if they have lots of CC, they're generally relying on spells to blow you up, therefore you need more ability armor. Again, makes the regen more efficient, so ability armor is good. Also, if they don't have any hard CC and they're, you know, a bit more auto attack based, we're not going to be building a Firm Bond card, we're going to build on a Stable Cyborg, which gives lots of basic armor. However, this will leave us very vulnerable to spells, so therefore if we still build the ability armor, we're still reinforcing this negative fact. So the ability armor in these 2 basically just reinforces that. The attack speed on Ferocity, again, you need attack speed to do damage in general. I just like the extra little bit of attack speed here. It synergizes really nice for the Compensator rig and such, and as I said, it's our only source of attack speed apart from agility. And then power on the final armor, or just to combo the fact that we're going to be dealing a bit more damage at this stage, and we will need it. In agility, again, power on the lifesteal. Power synergizes with the lifesteal really nicely. As we go for our final card, one of the tribe, that gives us lots of power, so it just synergizes nicely on that spike to give you some in-game damage, basically. I mainly try and use these stats now, because I only found about them recently, but now what I'm trying to do is make sure that all these stats complement the negatives of the deck while trying to reinforce what it actually tries to do. So you think about what is my deck lacking and what stats is it struggling to have, based through the cards, and then try and find gems that do have the stats on them that complement the negative facts. If you need a bit more mana on Severog, make sure some of your gems can have a bit of flat mana on them, basically, if you're going into Vitality, those kind of things. Yes, Protagonist?
I was just gonna ask if that means that people who have played more will have better decks just because their gems will then complement their decks better.
Yes. You get a bit more refined decks from people who have played more. I think it's a bad thing in the system is all the RNG behind gems. I think I don't even have one of the bloody gems and I've played forever. The RNG locking system behind the gems, the stats on gems, and the cards in general is a very silly system in my opinion. Do remember that rare gems or anything which disappeared for some reason, but for example, do I have any in here that are a good example? Probably don't. No, well, you sometimes have a Frosty gem that has 6 basic armor, right? Yeah? And then one gem that has a 6.9 basic armor that's also Frosty that seems the same. They all still have 6 basic armor, so it's always the same stat, so you don't have to worry. If it says a different number, it's still the default number, it's that stat, and it's only one of that stat. Even the ones that are bigger ones here, it's always going to be the same amount of armor and same amount of power, it's just going to be 2 stats, basically, for the tier 5 gems. So they have different variations with different stats on, even if the stats look increased, they're not, they're the same. But yes, the RNG on gems does suck, there's not enough gems, and the fact that, you know, I was only able to get these ones by luck is pretty lucky because this Grux deck's really refined because I have the right gems for what I want to do. I wouldn't want any different gems to the ones I've got here with the stats. Yes, Dirt of Dead?
So, how do you determine how late game you want your build in terms of stats? Like in terms of attribute investment, how do you measure that out in your deck without having such a big gap in terms of curve with just having a limited of 12 card selection?
I mean, it's not that limited, but the idea is, again, just thinking about your overall playstyle. You're looking for more early game or more late game, and you will be inhibiting one for the other. My early game on Grux is a bit weaker. The only reason it isn't too weak is because number 1, Flame of Second is ridiculously strong, and number 2, Tyrant's ridiculously strong. These 2 cards refine my early game so much that you don't really have that issue, and you can get all the way through the mid to late game, basically. So, yeah. Fort?
Could you use this deck on someone like Feng Mao?
So this deck, for example, it can work on any hero, but if we just take a quick example, so I use this for Grux primarily. If you wanted to run this on Feng Mao, for example, I wouldn't go this heavy into Vitality on Feng Mao, he's a bit more of an aggressive hero. I'd also probably swap up some of the cards, you know, I'd still build it slightly different, you could use the same idea, but late game for Feng Mao, you know, you've got other cards that could benefit you more. Instead of one of the tribe, you might want to go for Shatter Golem, you'll be losing a chunk of HP. You can make up for that by swapping, like, I don't know, Compensator Rig to Unstable Cyborg in your final build, and you can peak earlier. Deathcrawler's not even that bad on Feng Mao for his occasional auto attack with the Q, it makes it super strong. So there are lots of ways you can, you know, lots of heroes you could put the deck on, but I don't think it'd be as optimal. I still think that, yeah, you should build an individual deck for each hero generally. Even if all the cards seem like they'd suit one hero, so like you'd run this, like, for example, on a Rampage, like this would work on Rampage, it actually would. It's a good deck for Rampage. The gems wouldn't suit him, so I'd probably still run these 2. Frosty's okay, I wouldn't run the Armor Aura I'd probably run the Avenging Spell, so you get more rocks when you're ulting and stuff. I wouldn't get Jungle Lifesteal, there's no point due to his regen. I'd probably get Jungle Assassin, and then I wouldn't run Lifesteal on the 3rd gem, because you don't need that kind of sustain. You might as well get something else, like, I don't know, Mana Generator's even not a bad idea for Rampage, so, yeah. So you'd probably swap out the gems. There's always going to be one thing you basically want to swap out. Yeah. Cool. So, any other questions for the Grux set before I move on? Protag, yeah?
It was more just a clarification on when you say the Tyrant's and like a very powerful early game card that refines your deck. When you say that, do you mean too powerful, or do you just mean it's the most powerful option?
I think it's too powerful. I think Tyrant and Flame of Zekin are 2 cards that are slightly overtuned. For example, Undead came up with a very stylistic way of running them in offlane. Countess offlane with Flame of Zekin and Tyrant. It seems completely bizarre, but he simply runs into the enemy jungle, Qs one minion, Flame of Zekin's the other one, and leaves. And does that over and over again, and constantly takes their minions every 45 seconds, and he can even take their green buff once he's got high enough. He scales up the Tyrant really strong. The Tyrant gives so much power, it's literally one of the most powerful cards in the game in terms of just raw power. And then he just ends up doing crazy damage in lane, snowballing off of it, and he hits late game super quick because he gets extra XP for doing that, because he can do it in between waves. He can one-shot a wave as Countess because she's super strong, run into their jungle, take these minions, come back. If he struggles to get into their jungle because they're heavily denying it, that means they're committing a lot of time to that, so he can just go to the offlane jungle and take a couple of his own creeps, and he still ramps up the Tyrant in a good amount of time. And then even when he starts to hit mid-game, if his Tyrant's not fully stacked, he'll be one-shotting 5-stack creep camps with ease and right-click, so he can clear his own camps there, or again, invade for more. So you ran a creative way to run it, but that's because the cards are too strong, simply too strong, both of them. I think Tyrant is the best jungle card, and if you're playing a jungler and you have growth, you run Tyrant. Pretty much no other way around it. That's how good I think it is for a jungler. Every other role, I think, you know, you can substitute. I think it's a bit gimmicky what he does, but it just shows that it can work. Right, any other questions? Or is that all good on Grux? I can move on to another role. Cool. Let's look at a fun deck next before we look at another more competitive style one. So, Never Die Narb, this is a fun one. So, it's an offlane deck. It does seem a bit ridiculous. We're going to look at the final build first. The final build is pretty cheap. The other stuff in here that's super expensive, it's kind of even unnecessary. You don't really need it. You need this card, which is a 6 cost, Warlock's Burden. You need Pensive Shaman, which is 7 cost. So, you know, your build's already, what, only 13 cost, which is like the cost of one card usually. And then, there's a Battle Shepherd. So, you build 7 plus 6, 13 cost, and then has basically a free card when you have, what, 18 attribute points? So you get 18 tribute points and your whole build's done. That's all you need. This is a ridiculous combo just for Narbash. This is a deck that synergizes only with Narbash. You can see all the gems that we've chosen to refine this, basically. He's going to be tanky. He's going to be using a lot of mana. That's basically it. The idea behind this is you put on your heal, you start losing mana. You pop on Warlock's Burden. You now start losing HP, but you start gaining mana. You actually gain more mana than you... you gain more HP than you lose mana. So basically, you're probably still healing a net gain of 60 HP per second, but your mana's not going down. You can even spam your Q and your right click, and you will not really run out of mana. This is also giving your nearby allies 60 HP per second, which includes your minions and your allies, which is crazy. The main effect of this, of course, being the minions. You heal the minions, you speed up the minions, you become a minion master of some kind, aka the Battle Shepherd card. Pensive Shaman will just simply give you more HP, more mana regen, and it refines the fact that you restore more HP based on your mana. So this is again a synergy. I just thought about these two cards. Well, thought about the Warlock's Burden first. Who would it work on? Narbash, you know, he loses health, gains, loses mana, gains health. This loses health, gains mana, so there's got to be some sort of synergy there. Pensive Shaman refines this because it's all about restoring health based on mana restored. And then you combine it with the Battle Shepherd because this gives minions 10 health regen, so you're healing your minions like 70 health per second now when you got a max rank heal. And then you get the 6 power as well. 6 power is actually a lot for minions. It seems weird, but it's actually just 6 flat damage per minion. Minions have 1-to-1 scaling as well as us. So your minions are actually going to hit like trucks now. You think about how often minions hit and how little damage they do. If you plus 6 to every single hit they're doing, and you've got like 20 minions with you, you're going to be killing things very quickly with a Funk and an ult and then minion waves hitting them. So basically all you do is you go to a side lane with your Battle Shepherd on. This is only disabled if any allied heroes are nearby. I don't know if that's a bug or what, but if I have an enemy near me, it still applies. With this amount of regen on minions, the minions don't die. Like, they're basically invincible. Gideon Qs them if he doesn't one-shot them. They're going to heal back to full HP super quick. Gideon can ult, and this will pretty much out-heal the ult. You can also stun him out of his ult, whatever. So their wave clear is pretty negated in that regard. Even Gadget ult can't really deal with it. So you simply bring this huge wave, like, you know, 50 minions, because you stack them up as you push them in. You literally just don't have to do anything. Let the minions kill the enemy minions as you move along. Keep speeding them up, and then just speed them up into a tower and take the tower. If anyone comes to, you know, deal with you, they'll hit you. They have to hit you, right? So they're going to auto attack you once. You're going to funk them. You're going to ult them. The minions will kill them in half a second. You keep on moving forward. It's a ridiculous deck. It's a stupidly fun deck, but it's a deck that I enjoy. You know, to refine it, we put in some gems. We put in damage reduction, damage return, consume the dead. Damage reduction, damage return, of course, we take less damage. We return some damage, so we provide a little bit of damage back. There's no other good gems in these slots, really, that you can take. Consume the dead. It's really nice so that once you have killed the guy, again, you get more healing, just in case you were about to die. It's really nice. Also says, again, has ability armor on it. Damage return has ability armor on it. We want to take less ability damage, because the only way we're going to die here is burst. We're not going to die to auto attacks, really, with damage reduction and our healing, consistent healing. Auto mana potion is a nice early way just to keep mana in lane, but it's also a way to then actually, you know, if you do fall below a certain amount of mana because you're spamming way too much using alt, right click and Q off cooldown, then this will proc and just get a bit more mana regen. Mana fountain will also start to proc as you get less mana, so you can keep this going no matter what's going on. And deadly mana will increase your mana pool, again, just utilizing the fact that you're going to be using a lot of mana all the time because you want to spam stuff. So intellect can help you fix that issue. Late game, we have some situational cards. So Coin Master, early Exoskeleton, early to survive the laning phase. It's an off-lane deck. Coin Master to get some extra gold. I put Highwayman in there just simply to ramp up in a bot game. I could probably put something else in that. slot, basically. Green Spring, again, another nice offlane card we can run. Nameless Curse was just a filler card late game. If we ever got to extreme late game, it's just a fun card I can run. Again, the decks are fun. Unbroken Spirit's actually a nice card. If you don't want your Battle Shepherd anymore, you can still keep these two. If you combine it with Unbroken Spirit, you can join team fights more with players, rather than split push your minions, and this will make you basically invincible. Vengeful Mire, it's a card where you take lots of damage, you're going to slow them, which again synergizes nice with minion waves and such with your team. Vital Waters, increasing the healing, again makes you super invincible. The reason we go Death Swistic is because Warlock's Burden, basically. You need that card to make it work. And then Awaken the Emmerich, of course, again, it's another minion synergy card. And your heal can actually, with these two, Pensive Shaman and Warlock's Burden, out-sustain the drain life that the minions are dying. So, you know, you keep them alive and they all have Death Touch, so you push them really hard. So it's just literally specifically for Narbash, this deck, offlane deck. Really silly deck, really good fun. Just thought about a concept, you know, sort of Minion Master, super tanky murder, Narbash, basically. Thought about the synergy again. We just look at a card, think, what practicality does this have? You know, you got to think, you're losing health, gaining mana. What kind of hero is going to utilize that the best? You have to think Narbash or Zinx because they have some form of mana, you know, self-healing from mana is the idea. So then you can synergize well with this card. Are there any questions behind the Narbash deck? The silly, never die Narbash deck? No? All makes sense? All the principles still applied, yeah? Still got curve cards, we still got starter cards, we've still got a core build, we've got some situational cards. The gems curve into it nicely. Of course, some of the gems, such as Consume the Dead, do lie outside of the build, but that's because the build at the end of the day is only a 13 cost. You know, you're spending 8 into intellect, so you're having to go up to 13 in total. You're actually having to go up to 19 in vitality. But it's because you only have 2 cards, so the rest of your gems, you know, you're going to be going straight up into the attributes for your actual power spikes rather than actually buying cards. So you get your initial card spike pretty early. Battle Shepherd's pretty easy to get to. You can even buy it earlier if you want to not care for the Cultivate reduction. So yeah, that's Never Die Narbash. Just a silly, fun deck that's abusable because of the way the patch works, basically. We can look at a more competitive offlane deck. So we could do, let's do a tanky offlane deck next. Right, we'll go to the final build here because it's always easier to do from here. So, tank offlane, these are the 2 best affinities for tanky in my opinion. Is growth, as we said, the affinity is literally just strictly for taking damage, and order has lots of nice utility and again durable cards in it to help refine this. They also have the most tanky card in the game, which is Godmother's Vigilant. So this is a full tank offlane. You can run this on Sevarog, you can run this on Steel, you can run this on, I don't know, whatever you want to run that want to be a tanky offlaner, basically. Richter could be a really good one for it. There's situational cards in here in case you're like Rampage with tons of sustain and such. So yeah, pretty good. Our early game is basically just Healing Towers, Armored Footman, and Exoskeleton. These 2 cards combined with Healing Towers and Auto Health Potion, we have that early because we got some agility cards in here, so we can put 1 point in it early. Again, more sustained lane. Basically makes you super tanky in lane, you can stay forever. I like in offlane the 3 level 1 gems, Auto Shield, Auto Health Potion, Healing Towers. I think this makes you invincible in lane. Auto Shield will actually allow you to make plays. If you hit level 5, you can go all in with Auto Health Potion, Auto Shield, Exoskeleton, Armored Footman. You basically can't die. You're probably going to kill someone. Yes, protagonist?
Yeah, sorry, could you post the deck also in the lesson chat, sorry? Just because I don't have access to the stream.
Okay.
If possible.
Yeah, it's going to be better to see the stream, but I'll pop it in there. Take a second, there you go.
Just a little light shot, thanks.
So yeah, you're going to be really tanky early. Like, Exoskeleton is a ridiculously powerful card, negates Phase Beam early, and basically makes you just invincible early game. Armored Footman helps further improve this, basically. So I'll usually take Exoskeleton first, then Armored Footman, especially if there is something like a Phase or a Revenant. Exoskeleton beats both of them. Healing Towers will keep you sustained in lane, along with Auto Health Potion, Auto Shield for the all-in. Of course, we're going Heavy Vitality after that, just complementing it with a bit of Agility or the 1 Intellect. So the reason we go the Auto Shield is because we want 1 Intellect early. Vanguard Captain is very, very important for offlaners, in my opinion, if you're going Order. What you can do is you can equip this on your... So you've got Exoskeleton, Armored Footman. Let's say you go up to, 4 Vitality, and then you've got your Auto Shield and your Auto Health Potion, and then you pop on Vanguard Captain. That's a really nice free card spike. And then essentially, you're going to be able to wall in them at level 5, because this card gives you so much health regen that you'll be able to just sustain constantly in the offlane. And then nearby allies block 4 damage from minions. It also affects yourself. It's very, very important because their minions are going to do a lot of damage to you. You don't even have to kill the ranged minion in this regard. You can actually all in them a bit harder. As soon as the 2 waves meet, you know, they got 2 people they expect to be able to beat you. You can go all in on the carry. Let's say you're Sephiroth, you pop your root on him, you Q him, you just go straight for him and beat him up, and he's going to have to go out of lane, basically. You're going to heal up all your HP, and you're going to be able to out-sustain him, basically. Tanks are very prominent in this patch, guys, by the way. I know you're in Twitch chat saying tanks don't exist. You can tank, trust me. I've done it before. You can be very, very tanky in this patch. If you can't be tanky, you're building wrong, so follow stuff like this. Then you're going to be picking up things like Green Spring, again, another curve card, like Vanguard Captain, which curves really nicely out of combat regen. Again, it's more than Vanguard Captain. It's regen, but it's only out of combat, so good for offlane when you're just sat there. Then you got some basic armor, which is good against the carry. And then you can look into things like Growth Totem. This isn't a card I'd usually pick up, but let's say you snowboard and you can buy it for like 1,000 gold, 1,500 gold instantly, and you've already got the attributes to make it that cost. It can be worth picking up if you have like 2-4 kills early. And that's because you get it online early, it has more time to scale, becomes more worth. So this is if you're playing for late game, so you imagine you have a scaling comp, and you've gotten ahead early, but you can't really abuse it as much because you're like a Sephiroth. It's harder to abuse, you don't have cursed cards to back it up. So you buy the Growth Totem. Then basically, it will come online 20 minutes into the game or something. But it's a card that's infinitely growing. You can keep it on a slot, and you can keep it going forever. And it's really, really strong at that stage. And it does just keep getting more powerful, and it gets ridiculous, basically. So it's definitely a card I'd consider if I snowboard. It will make you weaker again in the initial early game, but it doesn't affect your attributes too much because you can still use your full attribute allocation to other cards. Quite nice. So, let's say you didn't be able to get pick up Growth Totem and such, and you go things like Malik's Tribute. So this is the card that basically, if you're a Sustain offlaner, if you're a Rampage, if you're a Chimera or something going offlane, I've seen those before, Malik's Tribute is the kind of card you're looking for. You have lots of Sustain. This card, it's very easy to abuse. It's extra 20% HP. It does give power attack speed, but the 20% HP basically makes it a really powerful tank card. It's incredibly strong on Rampage, for example. So yeah, Malik's Tribute is a nice curve card, situational card. Thunder Cleaver is another curve card. It seems a bit more aggressive, but allows you to wave clear in the offlane. It still gives you 22 basic armor, and you still have to invest heavily into Vitality. I'd usually pick it up if I'm going for Unbroken Spirit, so what I do is I get the free agility first, start curving into the Vitality, then you can pick that up, and then 4 more you can buy Unbroken Spirit. So you only keep it for a little while, but it can be useful, and it can be situational if you need to clear waves more if you're a hero that doesn't clear waves so well. Vital Waters is another curve card off of Green Spring, basically. So our late game build of this is pretty much going to be Unbroken Spirit, Yomi Guardian, and then you can either consider Vital Waters if you're a heavy sustain hero, or you can consider the Growth Totem if you're snowballing. If you're just a raw HP hero, you can go Godmothers. If you want to split push a lot, you can go Battle Shepherd. So lots of situational here, but the main core, I'd say, is probably Yomi Guardian, Unbroken Spirit, Godmother's Vigilant. Those are the sort of the 3 core. The rest of it you can consider situational. All these cards can sort of fit into lots of heroes decks. In fact, on Rampage, you probably don't want Vital Waters, you probably want Godmother, whereas Chimera, you might want to consider Vital Waters instead of Godmother, for example, if you're not getting burst a lot. So, as we approach more towards, you know, mid to late game, you can consider going Unbroken or Yomi, because they're both super strong. If they got more auto attack stuff, Yomi. If they got more spell based and CC stuff, Unbroken Spirit. Then you can start going for the other one, and then you can start going Godmothers. If you only invested your 1 into auto shield and 1 into agility, and you didn't start curving for Unbroken Spirit because you weren't too bothered about their auto attacks or their abilities in those regards, and you just think they're sort of a heavy mix and you can't really counter their CC too hard with this, and you can't really counter their auto so hard with this, what you can do is then you can just keep both of those on 1. You can max to 13 Vitality, damage return, damage reduction, sell everything. If you didn't snowball, you do enough Growth Totems, you just unequip everything, buy Godmothers and be super tanky. You're able to sit in lane literally forever with this card. Keep on building up until you get towards your improved health regen, and then you can start swapping out again for other cards. So again, we've got our early game, we've got Armored Footman, Exoskeleton, so only 2 early cards in this. You could consider Vanguard, but I think of it more as a curve card. So we got our curve, which is Vanguard Captain, Thunder Cleaver, Green Spring, Vital Waters, which is also situational, Growth Totem, which is also a situational, and then Malik's Tribute, which is also a situational. Then late game, you have your Unbroken Spirit, Yomi Guardian, and Godmother's Vigilant, basically. So, and then we got all the gems to complement it, basically. Strong early game with these 3, because we're going to have a really solid late game anyway. We got really powerful mid game with damage reduction as usual. And then improved health regen is ridiculously good for a tank like You could use Armor Aura if you want. There's arguments for Armor Aura and Avenging Spells depending on which hero you are, but as a general concept, improved health regen is going to be really nice, as there's no heavy sustain in this deck, basically, apart from Unbroken Spirit, but you have to be hit for that. So if you're out of combat and, you know, you've just been tanking a long while, you've taken like 80% of your HP or something, you know, that's a lot of damage, but, you know, you can do that in this meta. You just back off, you heal your whole HP bar in, you know, 20 seconds or something and come back in, basically, so you can keep on sieging and stuff with it. Or anti-sieging, basically. So, yeah, were there any hands up, Janto? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have a thing on it.
No worries. The Malik's Tribute,
Yep.
that overhealing, does just your bog standard regen count as overhealing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Normal health regen, heavy health regen, such as like Rampage Ult and stuff, life steal, healing some things like the quenching. It's just HP. Yeah. It's just 20% more HP. Literally that. It just looks like a shield. Because remember, armor applies to shields now as well. So it's literally just 20% more HP. There's no different in this one. Other cards, yeah, there's different. Like Sacred Alchemy, you gain 20% of your auto attack as healing. That's like 20% lifesteal, but you don't keep it. This, you keep it. It's permanent shield on top of your HP. So it's just 20% permanent HP. If it was temporary, yeah, it would be a shield. But it's not. It's just, ignore shield, yeah? It's just gain 20% more HP, yeah? That's all it is. I think the only reason it's not max HP is for the purpose of any card that would convert HP into something else, like Rampage, for example, yeah? Rampage's E does more damage based on how much HP you have. So, you know, if this counter is 20% more HP, he'd have, like, you know, that extra 20% turned into damage on his E, basically, or regen as well. So it's sort of slightly worse on Rampage because of that, but then again, it's still good because that 20% shield is going to keep you at 100% HP effectively, which makes your E still stronger for that whole duration. So yeah, still strong on him. But yeah, I think that's the only reason why it's not classed as HP, because it basically just is, unless they rework shields in future. But yeah, any other questions on the generalized tank off-lane deck? Nope, all good. Are you all starting to understand some of these concepts now and how we're building these decks and how we're running through them? All is good? Cool. Right, so let's do another fun deck and then we'll do another competitive one. So let's do Crunch Punch. So we looked at this again yesterday, but it's another good example of how you can build a deck. So this is a little more outstretching your boundaries. You know, there's a couple gems that are outliers, basically, lying outside of the, you know, general constraints of the last 3 cards in your deck. But nonetheless, we pick our final build. So we're basically going for Red Zone, which, yes, it's a hyper late game card. This is not one we technically include in the end build. You could consider it situational because it's so late. If you considered without it, you could actually consider Reactor Beast, Nuke Blood Mutant, and Tyrant being the end game build, basically. Seems weird, but those are the 3 cards you want to keep until you can get Red Zone, basically. They're the 3 core cards at that stage. You could consider swapping Tyrant for Trapper and such, but of course you're sort of breaking the boundaries of attributes there. If you're looking to increase your agility first, you can then consider doing it. But Tyrant synergizes much better than Trapper because of the raw power it gives, which works for the Reactor Beast and Nuke Blood Mutant, basically. So yeah, your final build is going to be effectively these 3 cards here. Chaos cards, very aggressive, lots of damage, lots of resets, lots of playmaking. So the idea behind this deck, when I was thinking about it, I want Crunch to be fun and a playmaker. You know, how can I do this the best? Chaos is the best for this because of the Reactor Beast, and I found Growth is the best way to curve it. Number 1 as a jungler for Flame of Zekin, number 2 the sustain in the jungle, number 3 the curve cards, Tyrant being super strong again, abusable, and then some tanky cards that you can use sort of mid to late game, so that you don't just get blown up, especially if you're dealing with heavy CC comps and such, because Unbroken Spirit is such a powerful card too. But I don't think that should be nerfed, of course. I think it's just powerful because it's the only card that does what it does, right? Whereas Tyrant, it is the only card what it does, but it's just absurd what it does. It's just like raw power. It's not like a situational effect. It's like just something that's good on everyone all the time. So yeah, we start off with our early cards. Living Guardian, Demolitionist, Flame of Zekin. Again, these standard 3 are 3 that I'd almost always run on every jungler in a competitive standpoint, but I'm doing it in this fun build because it gets you ramping. So you get these 3 going. You have your curve cards. You have Mother Tree as a nice curve card. Again, sort of you can class as a starter card. You can swap out Demolitionist for this if you need more sustain, or Living Guardian if you want the sustain over the armor. Tyrant you can then get to then scale. You can combine Tyrant with Flame of Zekin, then with Mother Tree, which is a really nice sort of mid-game transition as you work towards things like Vital Waters or Unbroken Spirit. I usually pick up Reactor Beast a bit early. We use Jungle Lifesteal Gem early to complement this, by the way. Just with the Living Guardian again, like Grux. So we'll get the Reactor Beast online again. It's sort of a curve card, but it's also a final build. You know, you can pick it up quite early. Again, with Tyrant, it's sort of a technically final build, but curve card. So you get both of these online quite quickly. Then you can curve towards Nuke Blood Mutant, which you can use Vital Waters to curve towards. Trapper can be situational. It can be really strong. It's the only card that I'd see is replaceable in this. Unstable Cyborg is, again, another good curve card. If you're dealing with heavy auto attack comps, things like Chimera, he's going to get wrecked by something like Unstable Cyborg. So a nice situational card. Nonetheless, but then you can also pick up Nuke Blood at the same time, so it depends. Like, you can have Nuke Blood now, but Nuke Blood's better when you start to get Red Zone online, whereas Unstable Cyborg's better before. So you can consider keeping Unstable instead of Nuke Blood while you have Tyrant working towards Red Zone. But yes, you sort of use that as the curve. So you've got start, you've got final, you've got curve, situational, curve slash, no, just curve actually, situational, curve. So still following the same principles in all the deck building. Even if it's a fun deck, you're going to make a solid deck, and the deck's going to be more enjoyable if you still follow these principles, yeah? So even though it's a fun deck, it may not be a competitive deck, it may not have to be optimal, but you still want to follow these principles if you want to make it enjoyable to play, because you still want to do well in the game, yeah? And you still want to make your principles apply to it so that you can actually perform the task that you're trying to do. It's not going to be fun if you just slap in like loads of random cards, like slapping your 3 final cards, like I want to do this fun build, and then just slap in a load of rubbish just because you want to hit that final build for fun. You're going to have a hard time getting there, you're going to have a hard time dealing with certain situations and enjoy the deck much less and the game less if you do that. So yeah, that's basically why we do that. And then gems. We have a lot of late gems in here. We have a 19 cost in one, and then a 13 cost another, 13 cost another, so we don't get them online till what, 26, and then you can combine 19, 36, 40, 44ish. So you get more towards a 45 spike. Bear in mind we do have red zone, so if you combine red zone, which is a 24 cost, with this is a 32 cost, combined with this, so it's a 44 cost anyway, so by the time you hit this, you're sort of hitting all your gem spikes anyway, even though they're allocated slightly differently. You need to go 1 up in intellect, you'll need to go 1 up in agility, and then the rest is 1 in vitality. So when you're hitting 13 agility, 13 intellect, and then, well, 4, 12, that's 20, and then, yeah, 19. So it's 1 up on each one, basically. So it's 1 above the gem vitality, and then it's 1 under the gems of agility and intellect. So it's all very close. You're going to be just going the 1 over vitality to get the final build, and then you're going to be doing 1 more agility and 1 more intellect, which you'll probably do earlier just to get the gem effects basically, and the spike, of course, because the 13 spikes are usually quite big for the affinities. Then I'd probably max out intellect for the 15% CDR, maybe, or you could max out the intellect if you want basic armor, depending on what situation it is, after you've got your actual affinities done. But we picked Deadly Mana because we can pick this up rather early. We pick up Reactor Beast rather early on 4. Then I boost it up to 7 quite early so that I can get the Deadly Mana, start ramping up the mana early, because you're going to need a lot of mana when you get Reactor Beast going. Of course, you dash in, you one-shot someone, you're going to use about half your mana, dash the next guy, one-shot him, you're going to run out of mana. So you need Deadly Mana to keep that rolling. Mana generators to reinforce this late game when you're going to be landing a lot of autos between your combos, because you need to kill people quicker, so you need to be efficient, so you need to use the autos. So those combo really nicely together to keep your mana going. Healing spells is going to be a way we sustain late game with Consume the Dead. These two basically allow you to just sustain, because you've got red zone, you're going to take more damage. They'll take more damage, they'll probably die, but as you're dealing more damage, your spells are going to deal more, so you're going to heal more from healing spells, which makes it more efficient basically. Consume the Dead, after you've killed the guy, you're going to heal a lot of their max HP. If you kill a tank, you're going to heal loads from this. And again, it just keeps you sustained throughout the fights. You can follow up on more combos. It's a reset deck. You want to get a kill, you want to reset off of it so you get HP back. And then we, of course, combine with Executioner's Rush, move speed, power. We're getting more power and move speed, no, attack speed and move speed from Nuke Blood. So you've got a kill, you've got more move speed, you've got attack speed, you've got power. You've got your cooldowns reset, you're moving on to the next guy is the idea. This gem is actually crazy if you think about it. 40 power is insane. That's like Tyrant's power, just from a gem. So you get that kill, move on to the next guy. All you probably have to do is Q and one-shot him. Like if you blow up a tank, so you can do that with this deck, you right-click into him, you Q, you E to knock him up, one-shots them basically. Maybe if you don't need the knockup, because you don't need to land autos, like if you do land autos in between rather, you can dash into them, slow them, Q them if they have no mobility, one-shot the tank, you're going to be healing, you're going to be, getting everything back, you got your reset, dash into the carry again. Then what you can do is you can then insta-Q, and you'll probably one-shot him. because you can, you know, you can even double dash towards him and like do an enhanced Q, and that'll probably one-shot him with the extra power from this, with the reset. This gem is actually crazy, providing you can, you know, reset off of it. You need to sort of run a card like Reactor Beast with it. Redstone basically just enhances all we do, gives tons more power, more mana is really useful for the Reactor Beast, and then HB is very, very important when you're running into the thick of things along with Reactor Beast. Reactor Beast actually gives really good stats for the 8 cost. Yeah, basically the amount of HP you get from these cards is crazy. The vitality you're going quite high in, so you get lots of healing out of that. Like, you know, you'll be super tanky. Consuming the Dead's going to make more tanky. It's just a fun deck. It comes online quite late in terms of the final spike, which is Red Zone. But in relevance to that, it comes online quite early. 7 intellect spike with what? 4 plus 3, so 7, 15 vitality. So 7 intellect, 15 vitality, and then what? 4, 7 agility. It's just really not that hard to come online for the first one. So the first sort of huge spike, like the crazy spike, well, it's sort of Reactor Beast Tyrant, then it's the Nuke Blood on top, or Unstable Cyborg, which is sort of a normal spike, the normal timing you hit 1. And then you've got the late game build, which is the really late game one, which is rare you'll hit. But it's a super fun deck, super strong, still built with the principles and everything. Crazy good deck, I think. I think it's super good fun. I've been running quite a bit in solo queue now, duo queue. Any questions about the current stack? No. Everyone understand it? Everyone all good? All good, Joker, thank you. I'm doing good, man. Just doing our lesson, right? So, final deck we'll look at today, before we start building more decks, is the Quang Jungle deck. So a lot of people want to look at this. It was even just said in the chat they want to. This is the one I planned. I called it OP Quang Jungle because I think it abuses a lot of the things that are wrong with the game in the jungle, basically. So you go Order Growth. I think this is the other 2 affinities you compare together. I think Growth, again, is the most OP in the jungle, and then Order or Chaos both have 2 very abusable principles behind them. Chaos being the more bruiser, Order being the more crazy tank one. That still does a lot of damage. You want to post the deck? Yep, I can do that, don't worry. Just so you can look at it. Right. There you go. Yeah, if you can't watch the stream, then yeah, I can just post it here for you. It's preferable if you can see the stream and see the deck. So again, if we think, what do we want this deck to do? We want to be early game, sort of bruisery, but deal a lot of damage, still be durable. And then we want to be late game, much more durable, basically full on tank, but still able to dish out a lot of damage when we get low HP, for example. Same idea as Grux, but we're going to do it in a different manner, basically. So this has got a lot of the combos that people find completely broken in this patch, so it's abusing a lot of the powerful stuff. There's still counters to everything that's run here, with exception of maybe Flame of Second, apart from another Flame of Second. There's still counters to all this stuff, but this is probably one of the most just solid, strong decks you could run in jungle now, especially for Quang, because he has so much synergy with it, with his passive lifesteal on his auto attack and his armor from his right click. So, late game build, Knight of the Asher, and Godmother Vigilant, and Unbroken Spirit. Godmother Vigilant and Unbroken Spirit will make you basically invincible. You literally cannot die with these 2 cards attached. You're going to have so much HP, you're going to have all the ability armor, and you're basically going to have all the stats for it. If they don't have hard CC, you can consider things like Vital Waters, or Malinx Tribute or something. Probably Vital Waters is better, maybe Sacred Alchemy if you're super far ahead and they're still not hitting their late game builds. Unbroken Spirit is a really solid one though, that's sort of in the final build. And then Godmothers, yeah, again, makes you invincible. Knight of the Ash will give you all the auto attack damage. It gives you tons of it, basically. 25 flat is ridiculous, with 19 on top, so it's basically 25 plus 19. You got the attack speed, and then basic armor, again, to synergize with stats-wise. You can also spec into agility for it, which fits perfectly on the spikes. You'll see we've sort of got a 13-19 spike, but one of the biggest spikes is 13-13. What we do, it's early game, Exoskeleton, and Mother Tree, so we have to get down like first back. It's not too early game. Exo we use in the jungle with Jungle Assassin, so we start with Exoskeleton first. It's a pretty slow clear on the first couple camps, then you pick up Jungle Assassin, clear becomes much faster with your lifesteal and such, and you have Exo for your first river buff, basically. You'll be full HP, everything still on time for 3 minutes. First back, you can pick up Mother Tree and Flame of Second, so you've got your early game build, that's your 3 early cards. Then you're looking at curve cards, you're going to be looking at things like Thunder Cleaver, Tyrant's ridiculously strong as always. What we do with Tyrant is we pop that on, Then we pop on something like Malink's Tribute, so that's on a 7/7 spike basically. Then we start speccing into Agility, and then one more Vitality. Then we sell Tyrant, and then we have the Shield build online with Flavor Second. So we have these 2 cards, which adds up to 12/8, which is close to our first big spike. This abuses the Shield build, which is super strong, amazing on Quang. Then you Flame a Second just to secure objectives and stuff. Once you've abused the Shield build enough, you're going to be curving into more towards late game. You can also use Vital Waters to curve if you need to be more durable, or Thunder Cleaver if you need to clear more. So these are your situational curve cards basically, and that's also a situational endgame card, Vital Waters too. Then you sell these 2 once you hit 13/13, both at the same time, and then you pick up both Godmothers and Knight of the Asher at the same time on 13/13. By this time you'll have damage return and damage reduction online, as you saw from Malink's Tribute and Tyrant. Before you would have had Ruthless online basically, which is super strong on the 7/7 spike, along with Jungle Assassin. Ruthless is crazy good when you have Tyrant and Malink's online, because it's going to increase your auto attack damage a lot, which increases the amount of shield you get from your lifesteal, increases the amount of power damage that Tyrant's going to give you because it's a % increase, which is super strong. You also get your damage reduction, which is going to make you much more durable. Damage return is then going to, of course, be your 13 cost with lifesteal. This is again going to allow you to deal a lot more damage once you've got these 2 cards online as they hit you. And then lifesteal, you're going to heal a lot more back, which is super strong with Knight of the Asher basically. So that's going to be a huge spike for you. Your next one is Climbing Vitality from Broken Spirits. This is when you're looking to sell Flame a Second once it's got about 4k damage on it, and you're like half-shotting Prime of it because it's a stupid card. You're going to be looking for Unbroken Spirit. Not that the rest of this build isn't broken at all. Ferocity, so you're going to look for that gem next. You're going to go up to 19. It's still not enough. You need to go up higher because you've got a 13 cost thingamajiggy over here, Godmothers. So 13 cost Godmothers plus 9. That's going to go up to 22, so you have to get this all the way up to 22 first. Then you get the extra free agility. Bang this on, finish up your vitality, finish up your agility, and then voila. You have your final build. And that's when it fully spikes. And you'll be basically invincible with this, you'll do crazy damage on backline, and we had some crazy plays with this deck. It's got it situational, got the early game, got the late game, we got our gems to curve that fit pretty much all within the perfect curve of the end game build. Right, any questions on the Quang deck? OP Quang jungle deck? It differs a lot from my Def deck, basically. Which I built more for fun until I realised what all the broken cards were. No, we all understand? So the question is, do you all think that you could now build decks like this now? And be comfortable using them in a game? No? Yes? Anyone? Would you all be comfortable with that? You can speak.
Yeah, I've done my Richter homework.
Nice, that's good. We'll be looking at those tomorrow anyway. Right, so let's move on to the next part of the document then. Next, I'll start making some decks for other roles. So I've mainly looked at jungle here. A bit of offlane, so I'm going to look at some other roles. I'm actually going to build some decks here. We're going to cover some standard styles that fit many situations, so I'll build those really quickly. We're going to whiz through these standard decks. Are pretty good for solo queue because they fit a lot of situations, basically. We'll cover most of the unique styles, the more unique styles, the off-meta ones, such as the Minion Master style decks and such. They're a very off-meta way to play. We're going to cover some fun decks, like the Reactor Beast Crunch, for example. And we'll mainly be doing this to show how you can apply your playstyle, doesn't matter what it is, to a role in hero, basically. So your aggression, your passiveness, whatever, how you think about it, and you can apply it to your deck. Yeah, an aggressive, like for example, an aggressive player can still be a support, a passive player can also be a carry, playmaker can also be a jungler, a scaling smart player can be a mid laner. It doesn't matter what style you like fit in your head. It may apply to a role in hero more, likely, because you could be a smart scaling player like myself, like to scale to late game and get a nice late game build online. And then you want to play Sevarog, for example, in the jungle. You've got plenty of time to scale. You're playing a hero that scales really well, fits your style more. But you can also create decks if you're an aggressive player and you want to play Sevarog. You like, look at Sevarog, you're an aggressive player. You can put some curse cards on, go offlane, and go ham on him. And that's perfectly viable. That's the nice thing about this deck building system, why I think the Epic have done a stellar job of making this system. So you'll always be able to adapt your style of play to the role. And yeah, as I said, I really like it. So we're not going to close out yet because we still got 45 minutes to make some decks. So this is mostly going to be stream focused, I'm afraid. So if you can't look at the stream, this is going to be hard for you. I'll try and explain as much as what I'm doing vocally, if possible, and I'll still post the end game build in the lesson chat for you guys that can't see the stream. So let's do Mr. Bog Standard Caster. aggression caster, let's say. So you want to be an aggressive caster in mid lane. Let's do the bog standard caster deck, nice and easy. So let's think late game build first. Always go to that late game build, it's very important. So we're a caster, we're going to max intellect. We're going 25 all in intellect. There's lots of gems that complement this too. Sleeper Agent and Atomic Soldier and where's Thaumaturge? Did I miss him? There he is. These 3 cards all add up to 25 intellect, 10, 7, 8. Hits 25. Very easy to run, very easy to curve into. And it's, yeah, super strong basically. You've got basically just mana plus damage, damage and mana, and then damage, mana, and a special effect that basically allows you to 1v1 any other caster, any assassin, deal with them, shut down a carry or tank's mobility so you can actually blow them up, allow them to be the point of focus basically. So it's really solid, works for most situations. It's not every situation, but works for most situations. Then we're going to go to early game. We're going to look for Advanced Evolution. Let's say Font of Experience in case we start getting ahead. Advanced Evolution will keep us sustained in lane. Yeah, and that's pretty much that. We're going to pop in a Power Tap for the end quickly. So where's Power Tap? Oh, there it is. So we pop in Power Tap quickly. This is going to be just a late game scaling card that infinitely scales, because when we hit 25 intellect, we don't really want the other 2 attributes, so we're going to start Power Tapping. By the way, guys, Power Tap is bugged for all of those that use it. You can only use it 4 times, then you can't use it again. It doesn't do anything, so only use it 4 times, and then start leveling your attributes again, I recommend. So just a bit of a bug with it. But you still get 60 power, so it's worth running. Right, and then we're going to look for curve cards. So Mana Flow Acolyte is a solid curve card. Increase max mana by 0.5% and power by 0.5% when purchasing intellect. Basically, it's going to scale up as you, it also gives you lots of flat power, by the way, 9 power. It's going to scale up as you use it, basically, as you go along, and it's going to get good value for 3 points as you use it. It may not be a good late game, but you're not using it late game, yeah. Invader Mage, crazy strong curve card. Just instantly get this online after Mana Flow Acolyte. You're going to deal crazy damage at this stage of these 2. If you're not looking to deal damage, you're looking to scale faster. Soldier of Fortune is going to be our other curve card that then allows us to yeah, scale faster. Excuse me. Yeah, then we're looking for situational cards late game a little bit. Stasis Rune. Again, heavy intellect card, gives a bit of vitality, so you have to level a bit more vitality, but this is really good if you're down to lots of combos and stuff like Howie Decker. Awaken the Emmerich is pretty much in any late game build that has death in it and you're focusing either intellect or vitality than the other one. So this is going to be just a nice turnaround card late game. You know, you're going to have 25 intellect, you're going to go a bit into vitality, and then you can buy it. You can use it to turn enemy waves around. Grinning Spectre could be a nice situational card as well, but we're probably not going to look at that because, you know, it's more hero specific, that card. So you can probably look at having Astral Leap again, sort of a curve slash situation. You can run this late game instead of Sleeper Agent if you need it, but it's a really powerful card, Astral Leap, basically. You could also consider Shadow Dancer instead of the Blink, or instead of the Stasis. You could do something like this, doesn't matter which one. I prefer like Shadow Dancer or Blink is usually better. Both of them are very, very good. Yeah, and then the Lord Volstock, you could consider running it as well as Accelerator. So, you know, you might not want Font of Experience or something, you can put in Accelerator for late game. You may not like Mana Flow Acolyte much, you can pop in a Lord Volstock. So these are all the things you can consider to, you know, cater your deck more towards yourself. But if we're doing bog standard, this is the kind of stuff I would be looking to run. So we got a final build there. We're going Intellect, so we're going to complement it. I don't like Auto Mana Potion. I think it's kind of weak unless you're going something like the Narbash build, which needs lots of mana regen. Auto Shield, I think, is ridiculously powerful, and I think Onslaught's pretty garbage because it's basically just weak crunch passive, yeah? So we're going to be looking for Auto Shield. I think Auto Shield is the best, allows you to trade early, super strong. I think it's crazy good. In the 7 cost, Blade Turn is kind of meh. Experienced, you can go for it, that's more of a playstyle thing, but I think Deadly Mana synergizes amazingly with Thaumaturge, constantly scaling your mana up, infinitely scaling this thing is, as you just keep farming, and you're going to get more power, basically. Of course, the trap of this is Bellica, so, you know, this deck is countered heavily by Bellica. I'd recommend not running it into Bellica. I'd run a more catered deck towards her, but again, this is standard sort of Jack or trades thing. This one, you have a little more leniency on. Do you want to do more damage? If you're an aggressive caster, Spellburn's really nice. Can come online when you buy about Invader Mage just after. Healing spells, if you want to be more, you know, defensive, I don't think this one's too great. It's a bit more situational for which hero you're playing, and such. Gideon might get more use out of it than someone, say, like Howie or something. And then Mana Fountain I think is the best as just as Jack of all trades thing. At this stage I think just getting more power would be really good, so Mana Fountain with power would be our best option here. This is going to basically give you infinite mana along with Hydra, Formateur, sorry, and Atomic Soldier. So it is crazy good. If you're going more late game as well, Spellburn or the healing spells would be better as well. For the 19 cost, so reactive spells I don't think is very good. You shouldn't be receiving a lot of ability damage, it's kind of garbage. Here you want to go for either Ruthless Spells or you want to go for Spell Shield basically, yeah. So Spell Shield is going to block an ability. Nice if you're dealing with just one key CC that's picking you off or something. It's a goddamn pain. Or Ruthless Spells, which can give you a lot more damage. We're going for the standard caster deck, so we're going to pick that. Ability Armor, because we have no other stats really. We don't really want the other one. Attack speed, useless. But this will just give you a lot more ability damage. You know, if they're half HP, you can deal 5% more damage. That's a lot of damage when it comes to a caster Q or something. That can end up doing a lot more. So yeah, I'd say Ruthless Spells is definitely worth picking up. I'm surprised it's not 2%. It probably should be 2% because it's more inclined to pick the Spell Shield otherwise. So you can go Spell Shield there instead. But if we're doing box 9 caster, I'd do this. And then 25, there's not really, you know, answer this one like, you know, come on. Amplify Aura, it's pretty meh unless you're like Gideon. It's okay. You could consider it on him, but apart from that, it's more of a tanky late game caster. And then Empowered Attacks, you have to auto attack a lot. Again, you know, auto attack between abilities. Not really useful for a caster, so Overpowered Spells is obviously the one we go. They take 30% more mana, but combine Mana Fountain, Deadly Mana, Formateur, Atomic Soldier, stuff like that. Yeah, Overpowered Spells is the way to go. So we probably want one that gives power and something. So probably the Power Ability Armor one's really good. So that one. Yeah, as our final gem. Then we got one more gem to use. We're just going to go Vitality, and we're probably just going to go Healing Towers or Quick Exit. This is more preference. If you back a lot or stuff, you want to go Quick Exit. I'm usually the kind of person who sits in lane farming a bit more, so Healing Towers would be better. This does work under their tower as you siege it, so as you attack it. But it's mainly just for early game sustain, basically. It's a nice gem that you can pick up early, so you just pick up that one Vitality. That one Vitality will also allow us to go into Volstock if we choose to do so. It's also going to allow us to easily access Stasis Rune if we're going to go for that option, and of course curve towards Awaken the Emmerich after we've gotten our 25 intellect done. So you probably want to pick up one Vitality early. You probably want to start an intellect so you can all in them on level 2 with your advanced evolution thing you're learning, and then auto shield as well, and then you can start sustaining with a point of Vitality second, and then you can start maxing intellect. Very box standard caster deck, so we're going to just pop this in here. We can just call this standard caster. Screenshot that. Fancy formateurs because I leveled it up for some stupid reason, and pop that in lessons chat for the people who can't see the stream to see. Yeah, so that's gonna be a standard caster deck. Yeah, any questions about the caster deck? All good? Cool. So we exit that, and we can start working another hero class. What class do you want next, guys? That will start falling off, you know, past 25 into like, you know, sort of more towards 30 minutes, you know, your standard late game and stuff. Offlane, support. We did an offlane one, like I showed one off, so we'll look at support next. So, order is your bog standard support thing if you're going for that. I think the other standard one is usually growth, but I'd consider chaos if you're going a bit more aggressive. So if you want aggressive support, you go chaos. If you want defensive support, you go growth. You can go into death or finder of plaything specifically. And if you want more XP, you can go for knowledge. So if you're going to more caster support, we'll go growth because we'll do the bog standard one. So that's pretty easy. So let's go for Lamplighter. If you don't put this in your support deck, you are absolute scum and should never play support again. This is your bread and butter. You'll be buying this all game, all day. You'll buy it, you'll go out, you'll place it, go back, quick exit out with more of them, go place them, go back, buy them, you know, constantly. You need to be constantly placing these things. If you haven't placed like 20 wards by like 20 minutes, you haven't really done your job. They're very, very important. You should be constantly going back for these. Supports are meant to be underleveled and meant to have less attributes than others due to the fact that they need to be buying Lamplighter all the time to reinforce this. So you do get some attributes. You're going to be going Coin Master basically. And then there's a third card. Generally is Curve. You know, you can go Chanting Shaman or Exoskeleton, whichever one you prefer. I'd go Chanting Shaman if you're a more standard support like Decker or something. I think this is going to be better. You're always going to be sat next to your either jungler, carry, or mid laner as you're roaming if you do. So you're always going to be getting that mana regen. It's just a nice card. That's going to help a lot. So Exo's good as well if you're dealing with very aggressive offlaner. Poised Aggressor is also one you could go if you're being more aggressive. Again, if we're talking about more the Chaos playstyle here, Poised Aggressor suits that. If you go Muriel, you can Q auto and then get a couple more autos with the Poised Aggressor off. You can do a hell of a lot of damage to the offlaner if you're a bit more aggressive. Now, I'm going to put Flame of Zekin in. Seems silly, but this is the most broken card in the game, in my opinion. When you're not running Lamplighter, like so you go back to base, you Lamplighter, you place them, you can go back, you can pick up Flame of Zekin, basically start charging it up. You can go take enemy jungle minions with this from the offlane jungle. You can use it to push out the lane faster if your carry needs to push faster. It doesn't even kill siege minions on the first use, I think, the very first one. So you can use that initially to push hard. Then you're just basically clearing jungle minions all the time with it, their jungle all the time. You can push out mid lane with it and stuff. And then you can use it to help with raptors. It won't kill the raptors on the first few uses, so you can use it for that so you don't take them. Or you can take one, you know, if all of you have Flame of Zekins, you can all one-shot a raptor each. Then you can go to Prime with your jungle at 10 minutes, then you can do Prime at 10 minutes with double Flame of Zekin. Things like that. I think it's a stupidly strong card, and I think it should be run on supports primarily as well as junglers. So quite important. Green Spring is a card we can consider picking up. We need to look at final build anyway, because final consistent build is probably going to be really basic. It's going to be these two, so Malix Grace, Malix Prayer. It's pretty boring, but it's pretty standard. You know, you basically got your single target Honor the Pure and your Quenching. They add up really nicely, just 8 Vitality, 6 Intellect, so you're sort of going 7-7 in retrospect, so you're going to be having 7 in both, so we'll be looking at that when we come to gems. But they're both very strong actives that should be your bog standard. This is what you're aiming to go for as a support. If we're looking for another core card, this is where it gets really situational based on the hero you're playing. I'm going to go with Song of the Sentinel because it fits Jack of all trades again. If you're more durable and frontliney, this is still good. If you're more backliney, you're still helping your team with this. It affects minions. It's a super strong card that no one picks up. So again, we're going to be going more towards the 13 spikes in Vitality and Intellect, and then we're looking at the 1 cost gem for Agility probably in terms of final build. This will be proper late game though. But the nice thing is, you'll be using these 2 cards along with wards for ages until you pick up this card. And then you can still sell this card to place wards. Speaking of wards, we need our Curve ward. So I think you should be using the Armored Shadow ward with Lamplighter. You should be using both. So you probably sell your Chanting Shaman, pick up this, and you're still buying normal wards, please, because it's very, very important that you spam the map with wards. It's your job as the support, especially if none of your team have the Order Affinity. So, good curve cards. Again, Circle of Health and Vanguard Captain are both very good. These are really good if you're engaging on the offlaner. You and your carry are both going to take less damage from the minions and such. The health regen is really nice for sustain, especially for someone like FaZe. Radiant Healer, of course, again, just really solid on supports. Brilliant Fortification is a nice one you can pick up. You can buy this card if you're dealing with the Wukongs, the Emmerichs and stuff, or the Backdoor. This is a very nice way to deal with it, along with the Teleport. And then because you have basically no more room for anything else, you could go something like Pensive Shaman again, but I think that's too situational. That's for like a single hero. Yomi is going to be specifically against stealth. Like if we're thinking bog standard, I'm just going to go Gates of Salvation. It is an elevate card. It's a nice one you can pick up with these 2 if you go heavy into intellect. It also gives you some nice ability armor, but it does become quite strong if you have it all alone. In certain situations, I think it's rare you'd use it, but if you're going bog standard, this is as standard as it can get basically, without any situational special stuff, like for dealing with stealth with the Yomi, or for pensive if you're like Narbash or FaZe, something like that. You could take the Teleport instead of Brilliant Fortification, but it's a lesser way of dealing with the split push basically. And then when you're looking at sort of late game, which I mentioned in chat actually, Dominion of Stillness, Group Stasis is a good playmaking as well. This is one you could stick in more Aurora support deck or something. It's also really good for stopping things like I said, Gideon ult, Aurora ult. You can actually stop people doing those. It does delay them more so than not, unless Gideon's actually started his ult. But it's a really nice way to actually prevent damage on stuff. Yeah, if Aurora does pop her ult, you can pop it and then you're immune to the Aurora ult. Dominion of Stillness is Domain of Stillness, sorry, is a very, very strong card. It's just not in every support deck because it's very situational still. And you'd probably run it in a more deck catered towards how you can use it aggressively. This could be trying to, like, you know, cage and then stasis right after the cage as a decker to keep them in place longer, if you can set up a combo with that. This could be for Aurora, who can then stasis everyone, then ult, so they have more time to set up. It's just a good situational card for certain supports. So if we're curving this quite nicely, Quick Exit is the must-have gem on any support. I don't think I should ever see a support not running Quick Exit, because you're going to be going to back to base a lot to buy Lamplighter. It's just simply how it is. Very important. If we're looking at intellect 1-cost gems, again, auto shield is super strong. You can go auto mana potion. I'd probably go the auto mana potion in this case, because you're going to be using more spells and such. You shouldn't be the point of focus. If you are, you're too far forward. If you're playing a more tanky support, you could consider auto shield like Richter or something. When we're looking at agility, because we're going to go on 1-cost in agility too, because you're only going to be getting, you need lots of value basically out of your first few attribute points, so you're going to be going auto health potion, there's no question about that. So this will cover your defense regardless if you're tanky or defensive. As we're going a bit more into vitality and intellect, as we saw, we're going to be looking at these. I think Armored is the best here. Gaining the 125 shield is really important. Mana Reactor is going to be useless for you. Damage reduction is kind of meh for you. The things that are mostly going to kill you are actually going to be spells. So Armored is really good. 7-cost Intellect. Experience is going to be the one you want to go for. You want to rush the 7 Intellect and then get that, because you're going to be behind on XP. This will help you catch back up. Blade Turn is not going to be too useful for you. In Deadly Mana, you're not killing minions, so Experienced is the way to go. So this is going to be a bog standard 5 gems here. It gets a bit situational. You can go for something like Mana Fountain, which is the one I'd go for. Mana Fountain is really strong for a support. You can constantly spam out all your stuff. This is really good if you go for the Gates of Salvation too, on top of your other 2 cards. And then the 13-cost gems aren't too useful. Shredding Strikes is useless. Damage return's kind of meh, and you're not going to go Executioner's Rush. So Vitality, you wouldn't want that anyway. So yeah, that's going to be standard support, in my opinion. Copy that one. And then pop that in here. Whew. Right, any questions about the standard support deck? No? None of you got questions about it? You all like it? You all like the way support works here? All good. So as I said, there's lots of ways you can change this deck for very specific characters, in particular things like Aurora, or more split pushy support like Narbash. You could run the minion buffing card on. There are lots of things you can do with it. Yes, Sammy?
I wanted to ask because Gates of Salvation, I tried that card, but it never worked.
What do you mean it never worked?
The effect never took place. My teammate was hurt, not full HP, and I stand over minutes and minutes beside them and nothing. They didn't get.
Were you hurt?
Yes, both. I just tried it in a bot game again, and the effect doesn't come to work. And I even had
it's bugged. It was working PTR.
Yes, it seems like it's bugged. I had only this card equipped, and is this really the only playstyle for support? Because it's terrible.
I mean, that's support. It's not the only. As I said, this is bog standard. You should be spamming wards and sticking to your carries, but that is literally.
In terms of support, this is pretty generalized. You can obviously specialize it, like Blood said, but that's for the most part that's support.
You can still do aggressive supports.
Yes,
roaming supports. Yeah.
It sounds so awful boring.
Yeah,
that's why no one plays
support. Some people get satisfaction of just lighting up the map and sticking to their carry, keeping them alive and feeling, gratification out of that, but I do prefer, again, myself. I'm more of a playmaker. I like my aggressive supports, Domain of Stillness, Fireball, for example, and Bellica support. That's more my kind of thing. But it's very specific styles, and you've got to build decks catered towards it. This will be your standard support, and yes, it is kind of boring, but if you want to be a good support, this is the kind of stuff you'll be running. Please don't run Growth Totem on support. Everyone in my chat saying it's good, but it's really, really not. Growth Totem is garbage on support, literally one of the worst things you ever want. Please don't do that. Ever. But yeah, so if Gates Salvation isn't working, guys, you can pop that out and pick something else, but when this is working, pop that back in, basically. Because that's going to be quite important, because it is still a good card when it was working. Right. Anyone else? Cool. Right. Who next? We've done support, we've done caster. Who wants a standard carry deck, maybe? Yeah? Everyone good for a carry? We could do a standard carry one. Right, let's do that then. New. What we're going to do is probably Chaos Death. You know, you can go shield build with Order. You can pick some things in Growth. Knowledge is not necessarily great on carries, but Death Chaos is the one you'll see the most common. So, let's think endgame build. Carry, you know, Shadow Golem. Pretty much your bread and butter for your final build. Then we can go into Vampiric Blade. Maybe. We'll look at the other cards as well, but that's most likely what we're going to go for. And then you got things like Heavy Hitter. The issue is when you have Heavy Hitter and Shatter Golem, that's 21, you can't buy Vampiric Blade. So if you're going for Heavy Hitter, then you can't take Vampiric Blade, but then again, this could be a situational, so we'll come back to Vampiric Blade. If we're going our solid endgame build, Shadow Golem plus Heavy Hitter, that's going to be 21. We've got 4 more points. You know, Overclock Droid is probably going to be our choice. So basically Hemorrhage. It adds up perfectly to 25 agility, and then we're going 2 into Vitality. Quite easy to dip into. So yeah, basically that's going to be your standard in-game build. We'll look at early game before we get into situational. So we want Call the Weak, most likely. It's a super strong card if you want a hard push with your team. And then you go Demolitionist as well if you want to push the structure even harder. This thing is super strong, basically. Non-hero unit structure is yeah, basically really strong against the towers and the minions, but it won't help you kill people. Same with Call the Weak. These are going to help you farm super fast, and they're going to be super strong for pushing the tower early, so you can rotate around the map. You don't want things like Tower Strider, Tireless Reaper, they're all useless for you. Profiteer is one card we can consider, so we're going to pop that as a situational. If you get really far ahead early, maybe kill the offlaner a couple times, go back, grab Profiteer and start farming. It is combustible, there's a lot of risk to it. Try not to die. Basically, surviving is a bit more important than getting the last extra couple minions because it costs 2,400 gold and you're going to lose it, and try and make a profit out of it, basically. I wouldn't take Sand Speeder, I don't think it's very good. I think Nitro Boost is better. You can get away from offlanes a bit easier with this, a bit more consistent, as you get back to lane just as quick anyway. It's a super strong card, so... Free agility, nice curve card. You can sell Demolitionist or Call the Weak after you push the tower with it, based on what you're trying to do. We got Overclock Droid, we got Guard Piercer. This is a really nice curve card, super strong. Basically always run that. Pressure Hunter, this can be used as curve or as situational. If their offlane is putting tons of vitality, this can be used as a curve situational card. You can also run it late game as you hit 25 agility. If they rush 25 vitality, you can use this instantly, and you will absolutely demolish anyone that did that, because that's a really stupid thing to do. And then basically you're going to do tons of damage to them until you buy more vitality, basically. So, which you will buy second. Hellfire Engine, good situational, you get miles ahead, pick this up, do crazy damage, stupidly strong. Swamp Stalker, really good if you're going to become a split pushing carry. So let's say your dude wanders off, your support, your roaming support, this becomes really powerful. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in Vampiric Blade for late game sustain if you need it. You can use this instead of Heavy Hitter and still run something like Overclock Droid maybe. Actually, is that too much? 13 plus 9 is... 22, yeah, it's too much for Overclock Droid, but you could run something like Nitro Boost with it, but it'll give you the sustain you need, basically, to keep going. But then the only other cards you'd probably consider here is Wound Seeker. It's the only other situational card you can consider putting in, maybe instead of Vampiric Blade, or instead of Swamp Stalker or a Hellfire Engine if you're a less risky player. Maybe instead of Hellfire Engine you can put Wound Seeker in. Just good against things like a Rampage, basically. If you get them low and you do hit them, they will have Blight, so even if he does ult and he ults late, then he is going to be blighted and you're going to be able to just finish him off without him sustaining through. One you could put in, but this is a bit more standard. We're going 25 into agility quite easily into this. We're going to start with improved killing blows. Is not really that great an idea. If you do the maths on this, it seems great on a carry. 5 bonus gold killing a minion. Let's say you get, what, 200 CS, which is really, really good. Oh, wait, was there hands up? I missed that one. Protag? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, for what's it called? Swamp Stalker, what classifies as nearby? Is it auto range? So can someone be in lane with you?
It's actually shorter than your auto range.
Oh, so your support can just stand a bit further away from you,
yes,
and it still works. Yeah,
so you can play around it. But it's a bit more useful if your guy roams off a lot.
Yeah, just split pushing.
Yeah, so you can split off.
I think that was sort of another question which might come in, but like, when do you sort of start going from I hit like a wet noodle to I hit like a very fast wet noodle? What point in the build does that start happening? Is it a gem
heavy
spike? Is it a
hitter,
card
hellfire?
spike?
It's cards. Gems are going to help a lot, but mainly heavy hitters going to help a lot of that. Pressure, hunter, swamp stalker, hellfire engine. Overclock droid doesn't help too much of that. That's more hitting fast. Yeah, it's sort of these sort of 4 cards. So when you get 7-8 cost, that's when it starts to pick up a bit. Shatter Golem's a huge one. That's when you start hitting harder rather than faster.
Also, what sort of damage should you be doing late game per auto? Because I haven't played the new patch yet, so
lots of
it
depends.
To like 250 or 300. Or...
Oh yeah, you'll be doing a few hundred like consistently every single shot. Most people will be like critting a lot, doing like 500s and such. Yeah, it all depends, like, you know, who you're shooting and how fast you're shooting. If you did max agility or not. If you went death crawler or not death crawler means you hit harder but less often. Things like that. So yeah, that does vary. Yeah, improved killing blows, if we go back to that, it's 5 gold per last hit, 200 last hits, that's like, what, 400 gold? Not very good. Really not very good. Yeah.
What about Wealthy, the 5% increase one?
We'll look at that one. But yeah, if you just think about the maths on that, it's not ideal. Improved killing blows, even if you lasted 200 minions after having your first agility gem, which is level 1, you're hardly even getting 1 more point off of it when you're probably getting towards, you know, the end of your 25 agility. So you can consider auto health pushing here instead. Probably keep you alive and off lane better, especially if you're going to run Profiteer. This is a much better thing to take. If we look at Wealthy again, same idea. So you have Fast Travel, Ruthless. Both of these are actually really good. I could recommend Fast Travel too. It's really good for getting back to lane, moving between lanes, rotating, split pushing. Really solid gem. But Wealthy, if you look at that, 5% increased gold. Think about 25 agility, right? We've just hit 25 agility. We already have 1 vitality at this point, but let's say we don't have the vitality, right? So we have no vitality, 25 agility. We've spent 25,000 gold, which means we've earned 25,000. Well, we've earned 24,000 actually, so if we count the vitality, we've earned 25,000. That's the best way to do it. What's 5% of 25? I've done this maths before, but it's 25,000. I'll get it on screen for you. Times 0.05, that's 1,250 gold. You basically get 1 more tribute. So by the time you've maxed out an entire tribute tree, but then you got a -7, right? So if you -7, what, 18, -1 again, because you've got the starting 1,000 gold. So by the time you've hit 25, you've earned 17 more, so 1,700 more gold from Wealthy. Actually, +1 because you hit the Wealthy quicker, actually, technically, if you start off in agility. This is if we're considering vitality as the issue. If you don't level vitality at all and you're leveling straight agility, you're going to get 18 more points times 0.05, and then times 100. You're going to get, well, it's times 1,000, isn't it? So 900 more gold. So you're getting almost 1 more attribute point from Wealthy when you hit 25 agility. That's garbage. That's really, 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 really garbage. Wealthy's a really terrible thing. If you consider fast travel, you're going to rotate much, much faster, like a few seconds faster, which is huge. You're going to get to lane a few seconds faster, which is huge. If you consider Ruthless, you're going to be dealing, what, 10% more damage against people that are half HP? You know? I'd much consider Ruthless. I think Ruthless is way better. I think Wealthy is absolutely garbage. If you do the maths on it, the Wealthy gem is pretty much useless. Yeah. Then we look at 13 cost. This one is a bit more preference. Multi-shot or lifesteal. Mana generator, of course, is out of the question. I think lifesteal is in general the better one. If you're going for Vampiric Blade anyway, you might as well put in multi-shot. Multi-shot's good for certain heroes, such as Murdoch. But I think lifesteal is in general the more superior one, so we're going to put power and lifesteal on that one. Power is really nice when you combine it with the lifesteal. More damage auto attacks is good. Fourth, duelist is possible if you're playing the split pushy carry with the swamp stalker. Empowered rounds is possible if you're looking for a heavy attack speed build, but you're not looking for the crits like we are, or if you're not going for death crawler or something. If you're not going death crawler, empowered rounds is something you can think about. But again, that's more of a Chimera style thing, high auto attack speed, you know, maybe a specialized Grim deck. Piercing basics, what we're going to be going for in 90% of cases. This thing is super strong. 30% in their basic armor ignored. If you combine that with Guard Piercer, for example, you're basically just going to shred any tank. So this is going to be really important. Have we got any power here, or it's just attack speed? Attack speed, we'll take attack speed then. So piercing basic, super strong. Then we got Bounty Stalker, critical hits, and Relentless Pursuit. I'm going to recommend Relentless Pursuit 9 times out of 10. I think this gem is completely busted. Being able to move at full speed while auto attacking is absolutely crazy. Probably the best gem in the game. I run on Seraph, run on Wukong. You should run on range carries. It's super strong. You can just hold left click while holding W, and you know, you just absolutely murder everything. You can consider critical hits, especially if you're not going Shatter Golem. You have a 15% chance for your Death Crawler to do 75% more damage too, which is insane, but it's still a small chance. But I much prefer just building Shatter Golem over building the critical hits. Both of them together is not really that great either. Bounty Stalker is a bit weak in my opinion. You get a lot of power and a lot of attack speed, but it takes so long to ramp up, and by that time, you know, it's pretty meh, when you could have just been moving really fast and kiting and killing and stuff. So I think Relentless Pursuit is pretty much the thing you want to go for here. So we're going to go for basic armor and power there. So that would be your standard gems. Then you go to Vitality. You've got 3 more. I'd probably consider going Quick Exit. You can go Healing Towers if you want to sit in lane more. You're going to be going 1 Vitality nonetheless. You could go into 1 Intellect for Auto Shield if you like it that much. It is a super strong gem. If you're dealing with an enemy assassin, you'd probably want it. But if we're going for bog standard, I'd probably go Quick Exit just to get out of base quicker, get back to lane. And yeah, there you go. You have standard carry. Standard carry deck. So again, using same principles. Well, that's just all the sort of standard decks that we'll cover for this. There you go. Yeah, the reason I didn't do Assassin Jungle is because Assassin Jungle was more specialized. So we'll look at that after. Yes, Mad Clowns?
You may have talked about it earlier, but I was looking back through the decks and you said about the tank offlaner. You had the Godmother Vigilant.
Yes.
And also you had but you had other cards in your final build, but you were still saying the Godmother Vigilant was still effective. Is that even including that the Elevate isn't going to happen?
Yes. The Elevate may not be in effect, but if you look at the maths on this card, I've got Godmother's, if we go to this build quickly, Godmother's Vigilant, so as you can see the Elevate effect is the 1% extra max HP per attribute point rather than just the flat 15. It still gives you 15 power, 565 HP, and the 15% increased max HP. If you consider also the fact you're maxing Vitality, once you've hit 25 Vitality on a tanky hero, you're hitting about 3k HP. Combine the 565, we can assume we're getting 500 HP from other cards when we're building full tank. That's about 4k as it is. You increase that by 15%. You're getting about another, like, 600 value sort of out of it. So you're pretty much getting, like, 1100 HP out of this card, if not more, just for this one card, which is super strong. And it's worth having in the deck also for the curve, so when you do hit 13 tribute points and you pick it up, it's giving you even more HP. So definitely worth taking.
Great, thank you.
No worries. Any other quick questions before we move on to a couple specialized decks before closing out? Nope. Cool. Fantastic. Right, let's do a more specialized deck. So you guys want Assassin-y Jungle? So we can consider we want Playmaking then, yeah? Playmaking Assassin Jungle. We're probably going to go for a similar thing that I made for my Crunch deck, 'cause it's basically an Assassin deck. Yes, Protagonist?
I was going to ask, because of how weak you are in the early game, what do you do as a carry if you want to be in, like, in the old patch, the aggro carries all had quite a good damage range, like TB and Rev. What do you do now?
You
for
can't,
early game cards?
the only thing you can do to be early aggression is go Def like we did, and pick up Guard Piercer early and Call the Weak and push. Carries aren't designed to be strong early. If you want to be like hyper early aggro comp, you might as well take another hero in the role like a caster.
Yeah.
Or then take your melee carry in the jungle. The melee carries actually have the stronger early game as well, so yeah. Range carries, they're definitely late game scaling. Yeah, they'll come online once they got cards and attributes. So yeah, if we're looking at Playmaking Assassin, you guys want it in the jungle, right? Did you say? You want Assassin Jungle, so we're going to have to go Growth, because Growth is too good for the jungle. And if we're looking for Playmaking, we are going Chaos, so it may still be the Bruiser or Tank Jungle combination, but it's also the same here. You could consider going a Knowledge one, but that's going to be more an Engage style. We're looking for Assassin style, so Chaos is going to be the way to go. What sort of hero are we going to be looking for, do you think? We're going to think of what heroes this deck's going to apply to. So we're going to be thinking probably Shimby.
Countess Shimby
would be a cool one. Countess could be a really good one to apply to. We could be looking for a Crunch as well. Really good. So core late game card is going to be Reactor Base. This is going to be your Assassin card. This is going to be the card that gets you really rolling in a fight. Assassins have very strong base abilities. Even if Shimby, her Q is a spam more ability as it is, your right click's going to reset, which means 2 more dashes. So you're going to dash Q, you're going to dash through them again with the E on, and you can Q them again. By the time you've killed them with all that, your E and right click are back off cooldown, so you can move straight on to the next guy. This works really well with Countess. You can Q onto them again, use your whole combo and Q back. You're going to have a new Q, and you're going to jump onto the next guy and do the same thing to him, or do another E. Like if you kill one guy with an E, you get another E, and then you kill the next guy because of AoE. Super strong on her. If you look for Crunch, you're going to blow up someone with a combo, and then you've got another combo to then blow someone up with because you get 3 more abilities again. So yeah, Reactor Beast is going to be super strong for these Assassin-y style junglers that we're looking to make plays with. If you consider something like Amplification Engineer, that's going to be super strong for our late game caster again. So again, we're going sort of into a bit into agility, a bit into vitality, but mostly intellect, which is going to be 9 and 4, which is 13. Then we're basically going to be looking for one more card. Red Zone's going to be our extreme late game. We're going to call it a situational card, not a core card, because it's going to be so late in the game. This will be our third card combined of these two, basically, if we want to consider that. We can put Lessons By Bloodmordius in. This is going to be our sort of core card ramping into Red Zone, most likely. I think we can fit that in, can't we? Yeah, like 17... 3 more, actually that's 26, so we can't fit that in, so we'll keep it as a curve card because it's good for characters like Shimby and such. What else are we going to be able to put in for a assassin? You could put in Glycerin Dawn, we're going to have that for a curve card anyway. Apex Predator, that is the power. How much power do you get for that again? 0.6, that's more of a laning card anyway, we won't even consider that for jungle. I forgot we're jungle. We're going to put Tyrant in, Flame a Second as well. So we're looking at mid-game cards there. What else are we going to use late game? We could consider one of the tribe for more team fight assassin, but I wouldn't, so we might just be looking at Nuke Blood Mutant. Might be the way to go, because if we do that, we're curving into Red Zone anyway, because we're building 12 vitality, 8 agility anyway. Yeah. So we'll probably consider Nuke Blood Mutant, because that card is ridiculously good for characters like Shimby and Crunch, and then can work well on other assassins, basically. Yes, Protag?
Just gonna ask with Malanx Nasher, what counts as an ability here when it comes to heroes like Iggy and heroes that have multiple applications of a single ability?
Usually...
Is it just good on short cooldown heroes, or was the hero like Iggy each hit of a turret?
Iggy's turret, I'm not sure now because it changed. Old Iggy turret, you walked in range and you took damage and it was just one ability hit, and then you walk out of range, walk back in, then it's another ability hit, but as long as it was shooting you, it was still the one ability. New Iggy turrets, I presume it stacks up on, because it's individual autos, which would make sense. Things like Morgesh Q only apply 1, I know that now, hence why I'm not running on Morgesh anymore. Don't know if that's a bug or what, but that's how they fixed Tainted on it, basically. So yeah. Yeah, Malanx is a good curve card, basically, in this deck. Yeah, so we've got early game we're going to have to consider swinging to jungle quick. Demolitionist is going to be pretty much core. You can consider Living Guardian or Tireless Reaper. Tireless Reaper wouldn't be a bad pickup, actually. If we combine those two with Flame a Second, would be really good for early game. You can consider loads of things here, you know. You can still go Coin Master if you're really greedy. If you're looking for lots of early fights, Exoskeleton's crazy. Mother Tree if you're looking for more sustain. Depends what you're worried about here. So again, specialization as an assassin. I'm just going to go more into the assassin style with more damage and stuff, fast to clear, rather than this kind of stuff. Flame of Seconds required, so is Tyrant as a curve card. Green Spring we don't really need to look into. Growth Totem if we're snowballing super hard. We got Glycerin Dawn for curve. We could go Riot Sapper, is really good for assassins, especially as they jump onto people and then you can blow them up. So that might be one we want to just include there as a curve card as well. Nice thing about going into free attributes is you're curving really hard into vitality and intellect and agility, so each one equivalently, but we're going to be rushing Reactor Beast most likely after Tyrant, same way as the Crunch deck. So final build, if we consider it, is if we disclude Red Zone because we want the gems to line up with the rest, basically is going to be Reactor Beast, Nuke Blood, Amplification Engineer. So we're going to be looking at 13 intellect, so we want 13 intellect max on gems. We're going to be looking at 8 agility max on gems there, and 12 vitality, so we can go up to 13 there. So we're going to be looking at 7, 13, 13, so it's all going to be basically early game stuff. Probably want to consider Auto Shield because it's super strong. We're going to need Jungle Assassin, I think. You don't actually need Jungle Lifesteal on an Assassin, because what you can do is clear the jungle quick, go back, and then use Quick Exit to leave quick, so we're going to pick up Quick Exit. We can remove Auto Shield here if we find we need other gems, but I don't think we need anything out of the 7 cost agility. We might consider Fast Travel. Mana Reactor's kind of garbage. We're not going to go for Vitality T2, so we're going to look at T2 here. We could go for Deadly Mana here, it's probably going to be really good. Blade Turn you could consider, Experience you could also even consider if you want to level up faster because you're going to be an Assassin caster anyway. I'd go for Deadly Mana, same idea that I do on Crunch. And then the third one, Healing Spells is a consideration, but I think Spellburn or Mana Fountain's going to be your best bet. Because we're combining it with Amplification Engineer, I think Spellburn's actually going to be your best bet. So we'll grab that one with Power. We got one more slot, so we're just going to pop in Fast Travel basically. That'll allow us to speedrun the map, basically. as an assassin to pick off people. So that's going to be a bog standard there, gems, and then basically we just call this standard jungle assassin. So this is not taking into account any specific hero, this is like all round something for a few different heroes, such as you said, Countess, etc. You're going to be going for the reactor piece reset, so you're looking for this card late game with Amplification Engineer and hopefully Red Zone. Till you get Red Zone, you're going to be using cards like Nuke Blood Mutant, Glistering Dawn, Malinx Nasher, are all going to be really good. If you rush the intellect, you'll be actually able to go Malinx Nasher early. To get there, we're going to be using Flame of Zekin early with Tireless Reaper Demolitionist to clear the jungle quick. Pick up Tyrant early is going to be really nice. Tireless Reaper is quite nice in the jungle because basically a Shimby, you can use an E on every camp that's reduced. Countess, you can use an E on every camp that's reduced. Crunch, you can use like a Q on every single one. Stuff like that. Growth Totem is going to allow you to scale super hard to late game. If you do snowball ahead, Riot Sapper is also going to be really nice as a curve card because you're going into several affinities here. So if you max out your intellect to 5 because you want to get 7 for deadly mana, then you start going into vitality. You can pick up this before you pick up reactor beast basically, which is quite nice onto Riot Sapper, so it's also a really good one basically. But yeah, that's another good way to do it. There's another way we could sort of do a standard jungle assassin where we can just basically max out intellect and go for knowledge, and you can go for like sleeper agent and stuff. You could also go knowledge death, so I'd call that the standard jungle one. Let's say we're doing a normal assassin, let's do an off-lane one just as a comparison. I'll actually go death knowledge, so it's very different. So same idea, we're looking for a late game just blow up build. We're going to basically go max intellect on this because you can if you're going out of the jungle. You're going to be going for the sleeper agent, you're going to be going for shadow dancer, so you've got what, 16 intellect, and then you're probably going to be going for atomic soldier, so 24 intellect, and then 3 vitality. That's going to be your final build. We're going to look to curve that. We don't want Formatage, it's pretty much useless on an assassin style. We're going to look for Soldier of Fortune, Invader Mage, Power Tap for late game scaling, Astral Leap for curve, Mana Flow Acolyte for curve. We're going to be looking at early game. Advanced Evolution's pretty good. Font of Experience will help us scale. We can use Accelerator late game to actually get onto people, so that's going to be a late game card. And do we need any other situationals? Maybe Corrosive Walker could be really good as a situational, or actually if we're being more consistent, maybe Stasis Rune would be better for jumping in and then stasing after a combo. So that's very easy to build basically, same idea. Intellect is very easy to curve into, so we're probably going to go Auto Shield, especially if we're like off lane, Deadly Mana for the same reasons as before. We can go again Spell Burn in here I think, which will be really nice to combo with Ruthless Spells for the more damage on spells. Oh, that's Spell Shield, not Ruthless Spells. I've only got 2 Ruthless Spells. And then we're going to go for the overpowered spells. So this is where you can do a lot more damage as an assassin, basically. I wouldn't necessarily run this too much on Crunch, but this will be your more caster assassins, basically. Oh, I can screenshot both of them, sorry, if you need that. Let me just finish this one off and I'll screenshot both. We can just go power and ability armor there. And because we're going to be dipping into intellect, same idea. We can go quick exit, basically. Oh, Pizza Man got it. There you go. What a bro. What a man. Standard caster assassin. Best way to use power tap is once you've fully spiked your build, so usually it's a 25 intellect build, it's the best way to do it. You've hit 25 intellect, you don't really want to skill heavily into vitality or agility, you just power tap. It is bugged, bear in mind, Joker, 4 times you can use it, then it doesn't work anymore due to the bug, so only use it 4 more times, so that's what, 1600 gold or something, and then you can start skilling into vitality then again, then agility, so it delays those. You can also start using accelerator as well, so it's sort of late game, you sell a card, you use it, and then you buy the card again. So yeah, that's more of our caster assassins. These are a bit more specialized, a bit more fun decks basically. Still built with our same method. Any questions on either of those? No? All good in here? Cool. Right, we can build one fun deck while we have time. What sort of fun deck should we do? Do we want to do some sort of minion master deck? Or do you want to look at something else? What other ideas do you guys have that could be fun? No? No ideas?
Is there like a stupid like damage reflect type thing that we could do?
Like Thorn Diomi?
Possibly, I don't know.
Take lots of damage, deal lots back. Yeah, we could do that. So we're definitely going to be going Chaos, because that's all the reactive damage, basically. Things we can consider with it could be, you know, maybe Death or Growth, it depends. Do we want to go Cursed? Should we just go all in on, let's go all in on the stupidness, because that's always fun. So we're looking at Death, we're looking at our final build, so it's definitely going to be 4 and Yomi Unstable Cyborg. You get hit a lot, you deal a lot of damage back is the idea. Are there any other cards we could consider in here before we move to anything else? You could do Red Zone, there you go, that could be really fun. That could be really fun, you just explode like a ball. That'll be fun. So then if we want to consider this, let's say it's probably going to be more of an off-laner's deck for a tanky hero. So we're probably going to be looking at going Cold a Week to pick up some farm and Tower Strider to get back to lane. In case we don't want to go Red Zone for whatever reason, we could run Possess Spriken, because that is a really strong cursed card that you can run early to get a lead. We're going to be specking, what are we mainly specking into for these cards? It's mostly Vitality, so we're going, what, oh, well, that's New Blood, that's why. The same stats, that's why. 6 Agility, so we're going probably 7 Agility. 6, 14, we're probably going up to 19 actually with Red Zone in Vitality. So we can consider up to 19 Vitality and 7 Intellect, Agility rather. So 7 Agility, 19 Vitality, which is all the gems in those. Cool. Which means we're going, yep, Vitality, Agility, we can run Nitro Boost, we can run Guard Piercer. If we want to be aggressive in lane, it goes well with Possess Spriken. If you pick up both of these, you can pretty much just kill the laners. If you're not going to Possess Spriken, you're going to need some HP early. It's going to be quite hard to get HP out of Chaos and Death. Actually, we can go Fail Step, to be honest. It's really strong if you just come out the side wall all the time. Any situational cards? I don't think we want Vampiric Blade. The issue is we don't have many tanky cards in these two affinities to go with the silly style of the deck. Rickard Riposte would actually be really good. Numbing Rogue's actually really good for tanks. Could consider some. I wouldn't go Profiteer.
Run this on a hero like Greystone? I've just been thinking of making a reactive damage Greystone deck.
Yeah, this would be the kind of deck you'd run on Greystone. Compensator Rig probably be actually not too bad, actually. All things considered, you can actually run that as a curve card. If you wanted to sell for Yomi temporarily until you get the final build, you can run Compensator. So if we curve this how we said we were going to, Auto Health Potion is going to be important. Fast Travel is probably going to be your best bet. You know what would be cool if we could combine this with Intellect and go Amplify Aura to make them take more damage, but you know that's going to be way too hard to dig into that. I'd probably go Healing Towers, because again I like sitting in lane. We're going to want to take just less damage, so I think damage reduction is going to be important. The damage return, of course, is going to be the necessity in this, with ability armor, so we don't die to that too often. And then we're going to consume the dead, so if we do kill someone before we die, then we're going to heal back up so we can kill more people by them hitting us. That could be more fun. So let's dump some HP in there, and there you go. That's a reactive damage deck. So it's a bit more fun, it's a bit more gimmicky, relies on them hitting you a hell of a lot to proc Unstable Cyborg a lot and die to 4 and Yomi. They're going to take a lot of damage if they hit you. If you're looking for early aggro, you can pick up Possess Spriken early and then run that of Guard Piercer to overrun them early, get a huge lead and run these 2 cards with the Possess Spriken to then take lots of damage, heal back up, blah blah blah. Kill lots of people. Fast Travel is going to get us back to lane quicker. Once we do have the agility will scale a little bit slower than our Vitality, whereas we get damage reduction, damage return, which help fit the gimmick a bit more. Consume the dead to heal us up. Lots of curve cards of Numbing Rogue Compensator. The issue is the final build does have 2 cards that are usually used for curving. Veil Stepper helps curve as well. It's basically all curve cards here. Very though if this is situational. If we do happen to get to late game and we're not using Possess Spriken, we can pick up Red Zone last, which is going to make them take even more damage from hitting us basically. So let's pop that one in the chat so you can see it. Well, just a bit of a fun deck for a tanky offlaner such as Greystone, Rampage, or something silly like that. You can run it on something like Severog if you wanted to. But yeah, really cool. I mean, I've got a Drain deck, like the Death Drain deck. That's just Rampage version 2 because it's actually kind of legit. Or did we start making a deck and then not make one? Oops. Let's just delete that one. Rampage version 2, where are you? There you are. Knowledge Death. It's a jungle deck. And this is the one where you have the Amplify Aura at the end, which takes ages to get. That's your final spike, but you're basically maxing Vitality with a bit of Intellect. You get Withering Shadow online, Solvok online, and then you start going for Plague Lord. And then you max out your Intellect for your Amplify Aura. And then, yeah, you're pretty tanky. And then people melt, and then you go out of combat, you heal your whole HP bar back, and then you go in, you melt people, and you ult, and you melt people more, and you stun them, and they're melting while they're stunned, and it's pretty lame. I used to run Echo Drive as the third card instead of played Lord Malink, but of course Echo Drive was removed, because then you could double rock people for 4.5 second stuns. But yeah, any questions before we close out? Lewis, did you have a question that was relevant to what we were speaking about or anything? Or is he not here anymore? He's not even here. Right, anyone else? No questions? All Gucci? You all know how to build decks now? You sure you know how to build decks? You 100%? No questions about decks? Yes, Flying Gazelles?
Only question that I have, so Lord Volstock, what heroes would you say that that's good on? Because I know that leveraging that can help you snowball, but
yep.
I just don't know what heroes that would actually be beneficial on.
So my aggro caster offlane deck has Lord Volstock in. I run this on Gadget offlane to get the level so that you can throw level 4 Qs when they're still like level 4, and you get your level 2 ult just as they're getting their ult, so you absolutely melt people. You can just win the offlane of that. I also have a aggro Severog XP offlane deck, this one, where I run Lord Volstock in. Oops, there we go. And essentially, you just pick up Lord Volstock early. I was like level 20 while they were still like level 10. You basically just crush people with your huge level advantage using high damage abilities. Also high damage autos, your base damage increases a lot, hence the Guard Piercer in the Severog deck. And you're absolutely going to just wreck people. So you want to use it on heroes that you want to snowball with for XP. You guys want to see the Rampage one. I've got a normal solid Rampage deck and not the Rampage V2 one, which is that one. It's basically the same as the Grux one. I'll just screenshot it for you. It's very similar to the way Grux works. It doesn't have Forned Yomi in, which you can probably put in instead of Growth Totem. I just put Growth Totem in because it's, you know, snowballing. You can put it instead of Nitro Boost even, although I'd consider keeping that over Growth Totem. Best deck for Chimera. I mean, I prefer this one, the version 2 one. So, that one. This one's basically relies on OPD Militia, so I'm just going to pop that in the chat. You guys can screenshot it on stream. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. And then we've got a normal Chimera deck if you want to see the normal one. Did I miss him? Chimera. There he is. This would be your normal Chimera deck that you can copy. I'll give you a couple seconds to screenshot that. And then people want Severlog, so I'll show my normal Severog jungle deck, which I wouldn't want you to run because I think Severog jungle is garbage. But hey, here you go. Well, sorry, I don't think it's garbage, but it's much worse than all the other meta junglers.
He went from being king of the jungle before v42 to the worst jungle. V42.
Not the worst. I mean, there's still worse junglers, but like out of all the viable junglers, he's the worst.
Out of the classified jungle.
Yeah.
Heroes.
We've already done Quang. I'm putting the screenshots in my classroom, so you need to be on that server if you want to be a part of this, part of the lesson. I mean, CJ, you can see, right? Version 1 Chimera. You know, it's tank, full tank. You got the shield build and you curve into a full tank build at the end using Tyrant. Version 2, you're more of an on-hit assassin, basically, using OPD and shields to murder people and stay alive. And then late game having Yomi Guardian as your only tank card while still using OPD to murder people. So you're more of an assassin-y guy on version 2. But yeah, that'll do for giving out decks now. Let's finish off. So, out of this, I hope you all learned the basic generalization of deck building, so all the points we covered before in terms of how you build the deck, what you're thinking behind it, how to curve your own decks towards your final build and fit it towards your playstyle. So again, that's sort of the generalization stuff, along with utilizing the gems, so you can utilize them with their effects and the stats on them to utilize them within the curve of the deck. How to enjoy the deck building system more, because I really enjoy it, and hype yourself up for the next game. Whenever I build a new deck and stuff, I'm really excited to play the next game. I really want to play the hero with the deck and get in the game and see how it works, and then change it if it doesn't work, and then, you know, hype to play it again and try and make it work. I love the new deck building system. I think the new deck's super cool. How to create more decks apart from your standard one to account on opponents' heroes and styles. So, you know, certain heroes you can counter using certain cards, and certain other decks you can counter using certain cards. So you can use things like Nameless Curse to counter the shield build, because it negates some of the effect in terms of just keeping their general, you know, sustain down as you fight them. Then you've got how to use the deck in game, notice the issues, then come out of the game, fix and adapt the deck to refine it further. We'll be doing that in future lessons, aka tomorrow, because that's a little bit more on that session, but I hope you still learned some things about that. How to optimize your deck fully through the thought of previous situations and applying a more practical sense of use to the deck. So think about what you've done before in previous games, what actually happened, why didn't certain things go right, and how your deck initially, as you make it, can consider these previous situations you've dealt with before, using previous knowledge to then actually apply to your deck, and to understand that you may lose 5 games, 10 games, etc. with your new deck. This doesn't always mean the deck is bad or the concept behind it is bad. I'd like you all to understand that when you look back at all these games, the principles behind why you lost may not lie in the deck, and how you can recognize this. So basically, look in the game, realize I made this mistake, it wasn't the deck's fault, I just misplayed, I wasn't playing towards the deck's play style, something like this. It wasn't necessarily the deck's fault that you actually lost the game. You can consider maybe it doesn't need editing in this way, maybe this was an issue with the deck and I can fix this, but otherwise, yeah. That's basically that. Yes, Alfie? Alfie's muted in Discord and deafened, so I cannot ask him to answer his question. He's probably watching stream, so he'll probably undeafen in a second. Alfie, come on. Yeah, Stewart of Dead in the meantime.
So, you mentioned earlier that Malik Nasher doesn't affect on Mortgage anymore. Does it still apply for Iggy turrets, or does it just not apply?
I don't know Iggy turrets now because they got changed.
Can't speak at the moment. I tagged you.
Yeah. Right, okay, one sec. I understand the cards and what they and when to buy them. The only thing that really confuses me is the gems. Well, again, as you said, the gems are just to fit the playstyle, right? Think about what synergizes, you know, like the Lifesteal gem synergizes with the Ferocity gem, and then with Compensator Rig as a card, so all 3 go hand in hand, so you sort of want to curve them together. Well, you don't buy the gems, you just get them with attributes, yeah? You just level up and you get them anyway. So you want to fit them within the curve of your build. As you get certain cards online, you want gems to pop up on the curve, basically. So that's usually how they work. But yeah, basically homework. So all of you that are coming back tomorrow, which I hope most of you do, I'd like you to all to build a deck. 2 if you want. Be a good idea if you want to, just in case we have more time to cover both. For your main role, preferably, would be a good one. So I'm sure we've got people of many different roles here. So I'm hoping we get lots of different variety here. Try to go through each step as we would have here. If you can, play a game with the deck as well. Tell us, you know, did it work well? If not, why didn't it do well? If it did, what was really good? And what actually worked with the deck? And did it actually work towards the playstyle you intended? And then, if it didn't go well, did you refine it after? If it did go well, did you notice a mistake? And did you still refine it? Or shall we refine it together? You know, we can go over the deck together and see if you can fit a thing together for that. So that's all for you guys in the Discord there. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. You don't have to make it a competitive deck per se, like a super strong deck. You can try and make it fun, as long as you explain the principles behind it, would be really good. And we'll go over those tomorrow for like the first hour and a half of the lesson, basically, if there's enough of them. Otherwise, I'll try and fill the rest of the lesson again with further deck building understanding, and then we'll go briefly into roles and such, but there's not too much to cover, honestly, because it's very similar to v41 in terms of how roles work. We just got a few unique situations that I'd like to discuss, which shouldn't take too long to do so. For anyone on the stream, !lessons and such, so you can sign up to future lessons. This has been a group of 4 sessions that people signed up to before. You can't sign up for tomorrow's lesson because that was part of this joint sign up. There will be future lessons held in the classroom, so do join the Discord server for announcements. It should be !lesson or lessons, I can't remember which one. And you can join future lessons that we'll be doing, particularly on things like v43 when they come up. But yeah, that should be good. Try !lesson maybe. Yeah, there you go, lesson. Hey, they all got trolled. But yeah, so I hope everyone on the stream enjoyed watching for the purpose of the VOD. I hope you enjoyed the watching of this video back. I hope you learned lots from it and that it was very useful to you. And I hope in the future that you'd like to join more sessions. It would be very useful, and I hope you gain a lot of it. I do enjoy doing this kind of thing and passing on knowledge. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all another time. Bye-bye.